Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. So today we're going to be focusing on moving platforms, and specifically we're going to create a tool that's going to allow Al to create moving platforms that can move horizontally, vertical, as well as add additional points and automatically add them to a list for him so that he's not responsible for any coding. So we're going to go ahead and create a sort of tool for him. Also, Al created a bunch of cool visual overlays for our streams. We're going to be coming up with a schedule to live develop this game for everyone. And then Al is also going to be streaming the art pipeline. So this is the Course 3 game that we're extending. So if you're interested in checking out how to make this game, you can check out the description for a link to the course. And to get started here, before we do anything, I want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Let me see, what paid assets, I got a question here. What paid assets do you recommend? Seems like it would make sense to get a controller system rather than invent it on every game. In terms of a controller system, you can create like a dynamic controller system that you can take take over project to project. In terms of paid assets, I don't purchase a lot of tools, but I do purchase like art assets. But when it comes to tools, usually I'll make them on my own or I'll look online how to create something. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So here we are in Unity, and what we're going to be doing here is we're going to create a dynamic platform system. So to get started here, and give me 1 second, guys. Just looking at something. Let's see. Okay, cool. So here I have this DOG SDK folder that I maintain. And inside here, and give me 1 second, guys. Someone's reporting that their stream is bugged. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. Let me check. Hang on. All right, 1 second, guys. Trying to set this. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. So what we're going to do here is let's create a system where basically Al is going to be able to create a platform. He's going to be able to just apply this script. And what we want to do is we want to basically go ahead and take that object or give him a prefab that he can just put into his scene. And then on that prefab, there will be buttons that he can click to add points, and it will all just be neatly organized. So we also made some updates to this game that I want to show you. We've updated a lot of UI elements, as well as added an original track, a new original soundtrack for the intro. So here's what this game currently looks like. Let's see. So we're currently working on a level map system. So we've upgraded our level system. So here we've added new menu options, and then here we've added a feedback. So if you click these, they'll go ahead and do a flash. So we can continue with an add. All right, or we can go ahead and restart from the beginning. All right. So all that works really well. So let's go ahead and create something for Al here. So to get started with this, what I'm going to do is, this is a 2D game, so Al's going to be working with 2D objects. So we're going to go ahead and just create something that's like a template for a moving platform. So to do this, I'm going to create an empty game object, and this is going to be our moving platform. All right, and anytime Al wants to create a moving platform, he's going to be able to just drag this in the scene. He'll be able to swap out the sprite for whatever he wants it to be and control some properties and anything like that. So on this moving platform here, let's go ahead and let me get out of debug mode here so we can see that. All right, so I'm going to set this to 0, 0, 0. And let's focus in on that. All right, so what we'll do is we'll give it a default sprite so we can actually see it. So here is we're going to add a sprite renderer. And we'll set the layer to be 50, so it's on the same layer as our player. And inside for the sprite, let's just add the default sprite for now, a UI sprite. All right, if we focus in on it, it's very, very tiny. So let's go ahead and make this about, let's make it about 10 on the X just so we can see it for now. And we're actually going to create an organizational structure for this. We're actually going to have the parent object, and then within the parent object will be 2 child elements or 3 child elements. The actual moving platform, and then points. So if you have point A, point B, or if we're going to make a system that supports up to 10, 12 points if Al wants to have 10, 12 points. So inside here, let's go ahead and let's actually undo this sprite renderer here. So inside the moving platform here, we're going to have another object. So we're going to create a 2D sprite within it. And this is going to be platform. And then we'll be able to add points dynamically to this system. So our script is going to be housed on the parent here. And then within it is going to be all of the movement and everything like that. All right, so for this guy, for the platform, it's going to be order and layer is 50. And let's go ahead and just give it a sprite so that we can keep a reference. Okay. So here is our moving platform. I'm going to set this back to 1, and we can adjust the moving platform individually here. All right, so here is our moving platform there, just for scale purposes. All right, first thing first is we need to be able to move this horizontally and vertically based on points that it has. So essentially what's going to happen here is we're going to have a list of points, and I'm going to allow Al to basically have a button on the script that says add a point. So we're going to create like a custom editor inspector to support that functionality. All right, so let's see here. So we're going to go into our SDK here, and I'm going to create a new script. And actually, we should keep this more organized. So I'm actually going to go into tools here. Let's create a new folder within this, and let's call this moving platforms. All right, so here we have our moving platforms, and then we'll go ahead and create a new C# script in here. All right, moving platforms, and then here we have our moving platform script, and then we'll also be creating an editor script later. All right, so inside here, let's see, we have our moving platform. Where'd that go? Come on. Let's see. All right. Okay, so here we go. So here's our moving platform script. And what do we need to do for this functionality? Basically, we're going to maintain a list of waypoints for the platform. So if Al1 has multiple points, we'll do that. We're also going to create functionality that at each waypoint stop will allow Al to specify a delay between stops. And then we're going to create a button so that he can actually add points automatically. He doesn't have to worry about creating new points, adding them to the list and all that. We're going to handle that for him. So the first thing we need here is some waypoints. Now, before we get into actually waypoints and creating the list, let's just actually get some functionality working here. So let's imagine we had 2 waypoints for now, just to make it simple. So here we have a transform point A and point B. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll extend this into a list system afterwards. So none of this is actually going to stay, but we're going to do it just to get the base functionality. So here we have public transform point A, point B, and we can assign those points. And then we're going to use void update for our movement here. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to grab our transform.position of the moving platform. And actually we need an object to act as our moving platform. So this is actually going to be our transform platform. And we'll also assign that in the editor automatically for Al. So here is our platform that's going to be moving. So inside update here, we're going to access the platform that's going to be moving. And we'll say vector3 transform.position is going to equal vector3.moveTowards. And basically what we're going to do here is we're going to move towards our current position, which is going to be the platform.transform.position. And then we want to move it to what? The target is going to be whichever point we're at, right? So it's either going to be point A or point B. So here, what we can do is we can just, for now, let's just put point B in here. We'll assume we start at point A. So we'll say point B dot position. And to simplify this, what we can do is just make it easy, is we have our points. So here, when do we switch? We'll go ahead and say if transform or platform. So if our platform and our position is set to point B dot position, then what needs to happen? So if it equals point B, then we need to say, hey, go back to the left, right? So we need a bool to trigger the switching functionality. And we'll use that later as well for our delay. So here we're going to have a private bool for switching and set it to false. All right, so here, if platform equals point B, I'm going to go ahead and change this to point A dot position. If that's the case, we're going to go ahead and say switching is equal to false. And then we can check here, else if platform dot position is equal to point B dot position, then we need to go back the other way. So we're going to go ahead and say switching is going to be equal to true. That way we know to come back, and then we can go ahead and create that logic here. Now you could simplify this even further with a ternary operator and make it one line of code versus having this if else, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to write it out. So then all you have to do here is we check what the value of switching is. So if switching equals true, then we're going to move to point A, but if it equals false, then we move to point B. So here we're moving to point B, and then we can take this, and we can say else we must be moving to point A. Alrighty, and let's see what these errors are in a second. Just dropping a like for you, John. Can't wait to check your new course. Cheers, man. Awesome, Pedro. Thanks, Dan. All right, so let's see here. Thanks, Alex. So let's go ahead here. We have platform transform position, move towards. Yeah, so this is for a moving platform, and then we're going to create some editor tools to allow Al to create dynamic moving platforms that are however he wants them to be. So we're just getting the base functionality up, and then we're going to go ahead and convert this to a list format so that we can support infinite amount of positions, as well as handle the actions for Al so that all he has to do is just set up the platform. He doesn't actually have to touch anything. So we're getting some errors here. There's no argument given that corresponds to the required formal parameter, so I'm just missing a speed. So for now, I'm just going to say time.delta-time multiplied by some platform speed that Al sets in the inspector, right? So here we'll have a private float, and we'll call that platform speed. And for now, we'll just set it to equals 1. All right, and to see it in the inspector, we have to serialize it. All right, so we have that. From here, we'll just multiply time.delta-time by our platform speed. And we'll do the same thing over here. Time.delta-time multiplied by our platform speed. All right. So what we can do now is if we go into the inspector here, we have our moving platform and we have our platform script. So what we should do is create 2 points to act as A and B. So we'll go ahead and create some empty objects in here. Just to act for now, we're going to actually create an editor button later on. So here we have point A. All right, and we'll duplicate that and have point B. All right, here's point B. So the way this is going to work now is we have point A over here, and point B, we'll go ahead and move that over here. And what needs to happen is on our moving platform, we're going to add our moving platform script. So on here, there's a few properties that we have to fill in. So point A goes to point A, point B goes to point B. This will eventually be a list. And then the platform that we're moving, which is this guy. And this script is automatically going to assign those values. So we're going to go ahead and create some editor functionality for that. Let's see here. So next we have our platform speed. So if we actually run this, it should just move back and forth between point A and B. All right, there you go. So here it is in the inspector here, going to point A to point B. And it's not actually moving back to point B. So let's figure out why that is. So if we open up our script here, if we open up our script here, you'll see here that if it equals point A, it's false. If it equals point B, it's switching is true. If I had to guess, I don't know what the value of switching is, so let's go ahead and make it so that we can see that. I'm assuming it's never reaching its destination, and it looks like it probably never will. So what we want to do here, platform.position, let's see. If I had to guess, it's like float values off, so it's not exactly right. So if transform is greater than or equal to point A, or we can say, actually we should be able to use equal signs. Give me a second. Let's figure out what that value is. So inside here, let's add a serialize field and check the value of switching. Because if it's false, we should be moving to the right. And, oh, here's the issue, guys. I'm telling it to move to point B if it's already at point B. So we actually need to change this to be point A. So let's save that. Yeah, thank you very much, Juan. So let's go ahead here. And platform speed, we can go ahead and remove this field. So if we run this again, everything should work. Also, let us know what you think of the new original soundtrack for this. So Al's buddies are like in a band, and they actually just like he took out his guitar and made this. It's pretty neat. Yes. All right, so check this out. So here we go. So it's moving back and forth now. All right, so we have a simple tool here for Al, and if we wanted to, we could really, honestly, be done here with this, right? So like some of the things that I could do here is we'll go ahead and turn this into a prefab. So here we have our moving platforms. So if I turn this into a prefab, just like this, technically Al would be able to create platforms by just dragging them in here. All we would have to do is set up point A and point B, and the transform is already assigned for him. So what we want to do though is we want to make this Al express the concern for multiple points. He also wants to add more functionality like being able to adjust delays and so forth. So yeah, you like the previous one more? There's going to be some modifications coming for this one. This one right now is just the guitar. We're going to be adding some bass and drums to it as well. So it's only going to get better. Oh, drowning you out when it hits play. I can adjust that desktop audio. All right, so let's see here. So the next step, guys, is to turn this into a list format. I want Al to be able to have as many points as he wants, because he might want to have multiple points for whatever design choices he has. Maybe it goes to left to right and then up, down, and back. So what we need to do here is convert this so that all he has to worry about are points. So, and then one other thing too with the points is we want to give him a visual reference of these points. So we may create something where they have like, they have dots on them, and we can connect the dots using like a line renderer, something to give him some visual guide of where his platforms are or what their movements will look like. So we'll be extending all of that together, and we'll look at the documentation for editor scripting to do that. All right, so here we go. So here's our moving platform here. We need to now make this more modular for our purposes. So we're not going to just be using transform point A and point B. We're going to have a button actually add points and add them to a list, and then Al is going to be responsible for just moving them into place wherever he wants. So let's see here. So we are going to have a reference to the platform that we're moving, and that's automatically going to be assigned through the inspector. So we're going to go ahead and set that to private. So every platform is automatically going to be assigned here. So private transform, go ahead and make that private. We'll go ahead and we'll use, we're going to have our editor automatically assign that stuff. It's going to find the platform. And let's see, I'm trying to think what the next steps here would be. All right, and then here we're going to have a list. So for testing purposes, before we get into the editor stuff, I am going to keep this private for now so we can, or public so we can see it. So here is our platform, and then here we're going to have a list. So we need to use collections generic, and we're going to have a list of transforms. All right, and this is going to be waypoints. All right, so now we need to adjust this. So what we want to do here is we're going to create a dynamic system here that says, hey, based on the current waypoint, we're going to move to the next, right? If we're at the last waypoint, then now we need to go in reverse, right? So we need to start iterating backwards. All right, so let's go ahead and create this. All right, so here we have our list of waypoints, and for testing purposes, let's just add a bunch of waypoints. When we get into the editor scripting, we'll add them automatically with a button. So here, once it compiles, you'll see now we have a drop-down list. All right, so here we have waypoints. Let's specify 2 waypoints. And what we can do now is we'll go ahead and add point A in here as well as point B. All right, and let's just get the same movement functionality that we had before working with waypoints. And it shouldn't matter. We're not going to do anything specific to point A or point B. It's just going to be whatever the current index is of that. All right, so we can assume always that the start position of our platform, and I'm going to tell Al that when he uses this tool, he has to use point 0 as the first initial starting position. All right, so we're going to set those ground rules for him. All right, so let's check for ground position here. All right, so basically we are going to set our direction here. And the way we're going to do this here is we're going to basically say platform.position is going to equal vector3.move towards, and it's going to move towards the current waypoint. So we need a variable to store, hey, what's the current waypoint? And if I'm at the last waypoint, I need to go backwards. And if there's 3 waypoints, if current waypoint is 2, we're going to increment current waypoint and go back. So we're going to have an iterator variable to act as our current waypoint. So inside here, let's create a variable for private int current waypoint. And we're going to set that to 0. And I do want to see this in the inspector, so we'll serialize that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to tell the platform to move to the current waypoint. So move towards, we're going to say, we want to take our current position, which is platform.position, and we're going to move to the current waypoint plus 1. Or I shouldn't say that. It should be current waypoint, right? Where should we currently be moving to? So it starts at 0. If we're at 0, we're going to increment it by 1 and move to that. So here, platform.position is going to equal, let's go ahead and say waypoints. We'll access the array, and we're going to use our current waypoint. And then once we have that, our speed is just going to be time.delta time multiplied by the platform speed. Okay. So here is dot position. All right, so when we run the game, we have our waypoints, but it's waypoint 0. So here, this is going to just go to itself. It's not actually going to do anything. It's already at waypoint 0, so it's already met its goal. So what we need to do is we need to check if it's at its goal, then it needs to continue. All right, and you'll see here that it's not going to do anything. All right. And you'll see here we're actually getting arguments out of range. And those arguments are because we didn't actually populate our list. So let's go ahead and do that. And actually, we did populate the list. I don't know why it was giving us these arguments out of range. Oh, waypoint size did get reset. Let's see here. 2, and then we'll add point A and point B. And current waypoint is 0. All right, we'll be able to watch that actually increment as it goes through. Yeah, so Gigi asked, shouldn't that be current waypoint plus 1? So I don't want to do that because Because what can happen is it's going to give me an index out of range exception when it gets to the next one if it's the last one. So a better solution to that is actually to create an incrementer for it. So inside our if our update here, we're basically going to check if we're at our current waypoint, which is for us, we're starting at 0, right? So basically, if our platform dot position is equal to our waypoint's current waypoint, which is 0, then what do we need to do? We need to increment the waypoint, right? Because that's controlling our next waypoint. So currently we're moving to 0. We're at 0. So we need to now increment. So what we're going to do is we're going to current waypoint ++. Now, when you get more experience with developing, you can kind of foreshadow and see ahead what's going to happen when you run this and what's going to happen when it gets to point 1. It's going to do this, and then it's going to give me an index out of range. So we need to actually check, hey, do we have another waypoint? If we don't, then we need to start reversing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that occurring. So right now what's going to happen here is if we are at our current waypoint, we're going to increment the waypoint and then move to the next position. So it is going to move to point B, and then it's going to error out with a out of range exception because there is no point 2. Thanks, Dad. All right, so as you can see here, it moved to point 2. It moves to point 2, and then it gives me this error, argument out of range exception. And that's because, check this out, current waypoint is 2. We don't have 2 waypoints. We have 0 and 1. So it's looking for a second. So what we need to do is we need to detect, hey, you're at the end. There's no other waypoints. You should come back now. So the way we do that is we use our .count variable of our waypoints. So here, if we are at our current position, we're going to increment current waypoints. But we only want to do this if there's an extra waypoint. So the way we can check this is we can add an if statement in here that says if waypoints, we're going to say if waypoints.count. So that's going to be how many waypoints are there. So if waypoints.count is equal to, we're going to go ahead and say current waypoint possibly. And actually, you know what? Maybe not. Current waypoint. So current waypoint is going to be 0 or 1 after we increment it the first time. So here we want to, once we get to our second target, it's going to be 1. So what we want to do is we want to check and see if current waypoint is equal to waypoints.count. And waypoints.count is going to return how many elements are in here. So count is going to return 2, I believe. So we actually might need to subtract 1 from this. So let's go ahead here, add a debug.log and get the value of count. So here we'll say waypoints.count. And I believe that should be 2. So we're actually going to have to say .count minus 1 because our numbers are starting at 0. All right, so we'll go ahead and run this, error out. But before it errored out there, let's see here. So here our count is 2. All right, so we don't have 2 waypoints. We have 1 waypoint. We have 0 and 1. So we're going to basically check for minus 1. So if waypoints.count minus 1. That's the value we want. Minus 1. Okay, so if current waypoint equals waypoints.count minus 1, that means we're at the end. So what needs to happen? If we're at the end, we need to say current waypoint subtract. Right? We want to do minus minus. Else we have more waypoints, and what do we want to do? We're going to go. So here, if current waypoint equals waypoints.count, or if we're at the end. So here, if we're at the end, we're going to come back, and then here, else there's more waypoints. Now, there's one other problem here. What happens when we get back to 0? Is it going to do the exact same thing for us? Because current waypoint's going to be 0, and it's just going to keep subtracting minus minus. So we're actually going to have to create a special case for 0. And we'll take a look at that. Let's see. All right, so here we are. It's moving to point 1. Current waypoint is now 0. So it is moving back and forth. But once it hits 0, what's going to happen? Oh, and actually, you know what? It went to 1. So that was actually correct. Current waypoint is 0. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Sorry, guys, I totally read that wrong. Here, we're at the end. So if current waypoint does not equal that, then else we're going to go ahead and increment. So we have more. So that's why it's going back. So 0 is covered for us. So here we have the same exact implementation of what we had before, but now we can support multiple points. So let's go ahead and add a third or fourth point in here. All right, so we're going to take point B, and let's go ahead and increment this. All right, so it's going to be point C. And inside here, we're going to add point C to a list. And again, when we get into the custom editor, we're going to make it so that there's a button on here that says add point, and it's automatically going to add this to a list for Al, so it makes it easier on him. We're also going to link the path so that Al can visualize the actual path of the platform, which is going to be really neat. All right, so here we have point A, B, and C. So let's go ahead and test this out. And now what should happen is no matter how many points we add, we have a dynamic system that can grow. So we have one script that works for infinite amount of points. And here it's at point 1. You can see here, now it's at point 2. And then check this out. So we did have an issue with 0. So current waypoint is flickering back between 1 and 2. And it's never getting back to point A, which is over here. So let's see here. So here's point B and point C. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Point C was in the same spot. And here, 1 second here. Let me remove whatever this guy is up here. So we have 2 of these guys. I don't know what this one is on the bottom. Let me remove this one. There we go. All right, let's get rid of that. We're going to focus just on this guy. All right, so here's our platform, and we have point A. So size is going to be 3. Let's see. We'll create a C. All right, and from point C, let's go ahead and go out to our moss giant here. All right, and test that out again. Let's see. All right. So there we go, point B. And it's actually stuck right now for some reason. So we might have to debug this and figure out why. And right now it's bottleneck between 2 and 1. So here, what is waypoints.count minus 1 right here? This is actually 1, right? So now we do have a conflicting issue. So this actually does need to be count. So we actually might need to create a scenario where what happens if there's only 2 points. Let's go ahead and save this and see what happens when there's 3 points. Because we need to create a condition here that's going to support infinite waypoints. Oh, are there 2-point Bs? Oh my god, thank you, dude. My gosh. This is why I love doing it live. You guys can spot that stuff before I can. Thank you. I am going to add that -1 then. I know there's like a 0 error coming up here because I've done this in the past, but we'll get to that when we do. Let me go ahead and upgrade this to C. Thank you. All right, so point A, B, and C. Go ahead and run it. Thank you, Gigi. All right, so here we go. Oh, wonderful. Unity just crashed. Awful. 1 sec. Let's open that back up. All right, give it a second to load back up. All right, it's give it a second, guys. It's loading up. right. So, any day. YouTube lag is horrible. It shows the stream is pretty good on my end, so hopefully it's not too bad. You guys should only be about 15 seconds behind me in real time, so not terrible. All right, so Unity here is uploaded. Let's go ahead and check for our changes. I don't believe I saved the scene, which means all of the prefabs and stuff are going to be gone, which is fine because I created the prefab. But let's go ahead and open up our dungeon escape here, go into our scenes, and hop into game. All right, so within here, let's see. All right, I think our moving platform is gone, although we have this one. Let's see, what is this guy? Okay, this was our first initial one, right? So here, so we can use this. Within it is point A, point A1, so let's rename this to point B, and I'm gonna go ahead and save the scene after I add these. So here's point C. We'll save our scene. And then we'll add our platform script. Hey, what's up, Caleb? We'll add our platform script. All right, and we have 3 points. We have our platform, which is our platform here. We have our 3 points. Oh, and actually, guys, you know what? Hold on. I thought I had a prefab of this guy. Let me go ahead and create that. So inside here, we do. Here's our, we can go ahead and use this one. So we'll position it right here. And platform A and B, and let's duplicate B. All right, call this point C. And we'll move that down to the mouse giant. All right, and then in our script here, we have our platform. We have 3 waypoints. So 2 really, 0, 1, and 2. I'm gonna save the scene in case Unity decides to crash. All right, let's go ahead and test this out again. And it should now go back to, now what should happen, I believe, is it's going to go back from, it's gonna go 1, 2, 3, and then back to 2, and then back to 3. All right, so here it's at current waypoint 1 now. So it's going to 1, and then I think it's gonna go back to 2. And it is. Now, why isn't it going back to 1 or 0? So the reason for that is because we're telling it exactly that. We're telling it to do that. We only go in reverse if we're at the end. However, what happens after that? Well, we're no longer checking if we made it to the beginning. So we actually need something that says like going in reverse, right? So we're gonna have a variable to control this or make note of this. So I wanna know if it's in reverse. Dark Sassy said, anyone know if these live videos are still being recorded for later? Yeah, so if you actually go to this YouTube channel, we have a playlist dedicated to Dungeon Escape Live. So you can check that out. All right, so inside here, we have, let's create a variable that says should reverse, right? So reversing. So here we're going to have private, we'll say bool, and it's going to be reversing. All right, so reversing is going to be false by default. And we're gonna create a serialized field so we can see this in the inspector. And what I want to do here is basically if platform.position equals waypoints.currentWaypoint.position, well, we need to we're either at the end or we're not at the end, right? We need to either continue or we're going in reverse. So here's where we're actually gonna check that. If current waypoint equals waypoints.count -1, we're at the end. So what needs to happen here? We are gonna say current waypoint -, but now we're gonna say reversing is going to be true. Okay, reversing is now true. And then in here, what is the logic to actually implement or go current waypoints? So here, what we're going to do is we're gonna say if, and actually, let me see here what we had. Oh yes, okay. We are going to say if reversing, So we're going to have two different ones here now. So reversing equals true, current waypoint minus minus. So here, what if reversing is true? If reversing equals true, then what needs to happen? We need to make sure that we're always subtracting current waypoint. But we only want to do that if we're at the next destination. All right, so here, if we made it to our next destination, it's going to do that. So if reversing equals true, we subtract a waypoint. Else, we increment a waypoint. So we're going to say current waypoint plus plus. Now, I feel like there's still going to be something with position 0 coming up, but let's see here. So the logic is if we're at our current waypoint, what do? If we're at the end, we need to go in reverse. If reversing equals true, then what needs to happen? We need to subtract the waypoint. Now here could be a problem. This is actually going to subtract it twice, and I'll show you guys that. I'm imagining that's what's going to happen, because it's going to do this line of code and then instantly hop into this one. So we want to make sure that we're actually returning the function here after that frame. For this here, if reversing is true, then we want to keep subtracting. But now this is going to cause us to go below 0. So what needs to happen here? Before we actually reverse, what do we need to check? Here, we need to actually check if we're at the beginning. So how do we do that? Here, we say if current waypoint is equal to 0 and reversing equals true, we need to say here reversing equals false. And then let's go ahead and actually increment the waypoint. So we're going to say current waypoint plus plus. And then we'll have an else for this guy. So we are going to clean this guy up once we get this actually working. Because right now we're getting into messy if statements. And I'll show you guys how we can clean this up. Let's see here. Thank you, I believe so. Okay, so here we're checking if we reached a waypoint. If we're at the end, we go in reverse. And then here, if reversing was true on the next frame, then what needs to happen? If current waypoint is 0, we're at the start. This is the beginning. Reversing is now false, and we increment the waypoint. Else, current waypoint. And actually, not if current, yes, I'm sorry, it is if current waypoint currently equals 0. Else, current waypoint minus minus. If reversing is false, meaning that we have more waypoints to go, then we're going to do current waypoint plus plus. And then we're going to run all this logic. So basically, everything we're doing here is responsible for just telling us, hey, should we continue going forward based on our list, or should we reverse? So let's go ahead and stop this and test it out. All right, so here we are. Reversing is false. Current waypoint is 2. It's going to make its way to 2. Reversing is now true. It's going to make its way to 1. Current waypoint is 0. It's going to make its way to 0. And it works. Current waypoint is now 1. Reversing is false. So this now allows us to add additional ones. So let's go ahead and test it out by adding a 4th one. So we're going to add point D. And then we're going to get into our custom editor. Let's go ahead and add point D here. Okay, and for point D, let's go ahead and bring this one, let's bring it like down here to the bottom. Okay, so let's save our scene and test it out. So, human platforms. All right, current waypoint is 2, then 3, and you'll see here in the inspector, and now it's going to 4, which is down here, which is current waypoint 3. And once it reaches that, it should go in reverse. And what we're going to do for Al is basically every point he has, we're going to create a visual editor using on gizmo draw or gizmos, drawing gizmos, and he'll be able to see the actual path. Could you make a waypoint higher up on the y-axis? Oh yeah, absolutely. If I wanted to, it's going to use these same points. Let's take point C and let's go higher up here. And it's basically just going to be drawing a straight path and lerping to it. So here it's going up there. It's going to reach that point, and we can have 50 points. It doesn't matter how many points we have. The only condition here for owl is that it starts at point 0. So we can even create an editor check that says if owl tried to move point 0 from the platform position, and we can even warn him saying platform is not lined up with point 0, and we'll tell him that he needs to fix it. So there you go. So this is our dynamic platform system. It works indefinitely for however many waypoints you have, whether it's 1, 2, or 50. And let's actually just make sure it does work on just 2. So here, if we click on our moving platform, if I make the size 2, let's see if we have any issues with this. In the off chance we do, we can just create a simple solution to this, but it should work just fine. Current waypoint is 1. We're reversing. All right, good deal. So that works good. All right, cool. So we have this waypoint system working. I'm going to add points C and D back. All right. So here is our waypoint system. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to apply our prefab in case Unity decides to crash. Now, what is it that we actually want to do with this? So right now, Al said to me that he wants to be able to create moving platforms throughout these levels, and he doesn't want to have a script specific to the points, and he doesn't want to have, he wants it to support multiple points, right? He might have some design patterns or some weird paths that he wants to create. So we're going to create an editor tool that's going to allow him to basically, this waypoint list is going to be hidden, and it's going to allow him to basically have a button here that says add waypoint. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a waypoint. We're going to space it out. So it's going to automatically add a waypoint, space it out. We're going to have a visual line here that tells him the current path of that waypoint. And then we will we'll add it for him to our list. There's no reason that Al ever has to actually touch anything in here. That means we're also going to have to remove waypoints. So we're going to create a remove button, and it's going to remove the last waypoint in the list and recalculate all the visuals. So to do this, we need to learn how to create custom editor windows, or not a window, but a inspector. So I'm basically going to override how this looks when Al is viewing it. Right now, this is how it looks for Al. We're going to actually create custom draw calls here that are going to allow us to customize this. All right, so we're going to do that live here in just a moment. So let me go ahead and just clean this up and get us ready. Before we continue, I do want to just check out and see if there's any optimizations that we can make. I don't particularly like having all these if statements. So let's just see if there's anything we can do to actually visualize this or clean this up a bit and make it much neater. So we have this update method here, and what we're doing here is this function here, this code, everything here only gets called when we're actually at a position, right? And then we're doing a lot of waypoint checking. So what if I could return get next waypoint? Let's have a function that actually handles getting the next waypoint instead of doing all the logic here in update and just making this really ugly. So what we can do here is let's create a new method, and we'll call this void get current waypoint. All right, and it's going to actually return an int value. So we're going to get current waypoint. We're going to say int. And what I want to do here is get current waypoint is going to host all of the data. So here we're going to say var, let's go ahead and say current, or we're going to say next, right? We'll say next point. And var, guys, is just a universal data type. I found myself recently using it more within methods just because it's a lot cleaner to read. But by all means, if you like using variable types on the left side, you can. But var, the compiler interprets what you're doing based on what you put here. So if I put a 5, the compiler knows that it's an int. All right, so just to get this thing from stop, just so it's happy, I have to actually return next point. All right, so let's go ahead and add that logic in here. So get current waypoint. When do I need to get the current waypoint? I need to get the current waypoint when we're at our waypoint, right? So that's either going to be subtracting or adding. So in here, we're going to say current waypoint, okay, is going to equal the next one. So current waypoint is going to equal the get current waypoint method. It's going to return what the current waypoint is. All right, so here, when we call that method, we need to know exactly where we are. So I'm actually going to delete a bunch of that. All right, so here we're going to have var next waypoint. So here, our next point, all right, is going to equal, next point is going to be what? So here we have next point equals, let's go and set it to just 0 for now. I think I have to declare, I'm pretty sure I do. So here, next point equals, or we'll go ahead and say actually next point equals current point here, and we're going to go ahead and modify it. Actually, I don't like that, guys, sorry. I do want to make it 0. I'm going to initialize it to 0. All right, so here we have next point equals 0. And what should happen here? So we're going to take this logic here that checks if we're at the end. So here, check if ending, or check if at end. All right, so we still want this. We need this if statement here. So here, current waypoint, and actually here, so this one we actually could probably do in a ternary operator. And maybe we'll do that, but let's see here. So we're going to go ahead and clean this up. So here we check if we're at the end. So if current waypoint equals, for some reason I just don't like that. If current waypoint equals waypoints.count -1, we're going to say reversing equals true, current waypoint minus minus. All right, and then we return here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say next point equals current waypoint. And actually, next point equals, yeah, we can say current waypoint. Oh, actually, you know what? We don't have to do that, guys. All the logic is handled for. We just have to return current waypoint. So here, if current waypoint, let's go ahead and just put all of that code in here. So let's take this. Let's just put it all in here for now. And we'll figure out what we can clean up. So here, get current waypoint. If we're at the end, we say reversing equals true. We say current waypoint minus minus. And then here, we're going to return the current waypoint value after we subtract it. All right, so that's if we're at the end. Let's go ahead and indent this. Actually, guys, it needs to go back. Okay, so here reversing current waypoint minus minus. If reversing equals true, we're going to do all this logic, right? So this, I think I do want to convert to possibly a ternary operator. Here we're checking if reversing equals true. And basically, what's the next move, right? If we're at the beginning, we need to basically say current waypoint plus plus, else we're going to keep reversing. So here, to do that, as a ternary operator, what we can do is we're going to say current waypoint equals 0. We're asking a question. If it does, what needs to happen? We need to say current waypoint plus plus. So we're going to say current waypoint plus plus. Else, what needs to happen? Else, current waypoint minus minus. All right. So here, based on if it's 0 when we're reversing, it's either going to be plus plus or minus minus. All right, and let's see what it doesn't like here. It can be used as statements. Only assignment call increment. So I'm saying current waypoint equals, let's say here, equals 0, then it equals current waypoint plus plus, else current waypoint minus minus. I actually don't know what it doesn't like about this. Only assignment call increment, decrement, and new objects can be used as a statement. Let's see, what's it not like? And I notice we don't work this reversing issue too here. So let's go ahead and say, shoot, we actually might not be able to do that because I also need to tell it that if we're at the beginning, then reversing needs to be false. So hold on here. We'll find another use case for that perhaps. Else current waypoint plus plus. Here, 1 second, guys. Oh, sweet. Yeah, you can put it here. Thanks.
Oh, I didn't get a shout out for the donation.
Oh, yeah, you want? Shoot. Yes, please. All right, so let's see here. If we're at the end, we do this. If we're reversing equals true, how can I avoid that? That's the issue. I don't want to do that. If we're beginning, if you guys have ideas on how to optimize this, feel free to pitch in because I'm throwing a blank here. Let's see. If current waypoint is 0, then we do this, else we increment. But this part here is what's getting in the way. We might just leave it like this for now and come back to it later. Here we need to actually return the waypoint in here. So inside here we need to say current waypoint plus plus. Oh, thanks. Current waypoint plus plus. And we come in here, we need to return it after that. So here we're going to say return. And actually, I'm sorry guys, you know what? We don't have to do that. We might only need one return statement in here. That's the goal. Here it says reversing that. So if reversing equals true, then, okay, no, we do, because otherwise it's going to get in here. So we definitely want to return there. But unfortunately, I do have to add a return here. If reversing is true, else that. Okay, so I can just do it here. So we're going to return current waypoint. All right, let's save that. And now our update method is super clean. So inside here, we can just have our if statement, and we can simply say current waypoint is going to equal our get current waypoint function. All right, and then it's just going to handle this movement here. So one other thing we can also do is we can create a void movement. And let's go ahead and paste all of this in there. All right, and then here's our movement method. Okay, so here we have movement. If player position equals the next position, we need to then check our current waypoint, whether we're reversing or going forward, and it's going to handle that movement here. And all the operations are going to be done in this function here. Alrighty. So if anything, we just organized it. There is a way we can eliminate maybe those if statements. I just can't think of the way to do it at the moment. So we'll revisit. But everything is still working here. Let's just make sure. All right, and then we're going to get into customizing this editor inspector. All right, good deal. So I just want to see it reverse, and this is working fine. For each. No, we can't use a for each here. We don't want to have to loop through all of them. That's just that's an expensive operation. It's easier just to check if we're at the front or the end. That's all I want to know. Two of them actually. All right, let's go ahead and save that. Thanks. All right, let's see here. All right, so I think we're good to move on. So we have our platform functionality here, so it's done. So what we need to do now is make this easy for Al. And the way we're gonna do that is by creating a custom draw inspector. So we're gonna be using the Unity API to help us figure out, hey, how do we custom draw this? And then how do we do operations here? For instance, I wanna hide this waypoints list. All right, so that's the first thing I wanna do. So inside here, let's go ahead and hide that from Al so that he's not able to mess with that. So we are going to make this a private variable. All right, so here we have a private list transform waypoints, and we'll put our underscore to that. All right, and then the platform that's going to be moved, we're also going to assign that for Al so that he doesn't have to worry about it. So we're going to make that private as well. All right, so here we have private transform platform. All right, and what I should have done, guys, instead of actually using the underscore here, because I do want the underscore, I'm actually just going to right-click these and rename them with an underscore, and that will be applied to everything. All right, right-click, rename. That way I don't have to go through and rename it. All right, so here we go. So we have our waypoints, we have our platform, we have our switching variable, which I don't even think we're using this anymore. Nope. So we can delete that. And then here we have our platform speed for owl to set, followed by our current waypoint and reversing. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Unity API on how to get started with custom inspectors. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. Hi, my name is Jonathan Weinberger, and I've been developing games with C# and Unity for the last 6 years. I've helped thousands of developers learn to code and improve their skill sets. I currently teach game development on Udemy, an online marketplace for courses. Udemy has over 17 million students learning everything from game development to piano or cooking. Enjoy courses on any device and at your own pace with lifetime access. My course, The Ultimate Guide to Game Development with Unity, is designed to teach you the fundamentals of C# programming in Unity. We'll cover everything from receiving user inputs to creating destructible objects. By the end of this course, you'll make 2 high-quality games you can share with the world. This course is for anyone who wants to learn game development or refine their technique. Whether you're interested in game development as a hobby or you want to make games professionally, this course will grow your programming skill set and help you go on to make your own games and applications. Click on the link in the bottom left of the video player to access a special discount for this course. I look forward to teaching you more about game development with Unity and C# on Udemy. Hanley, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I was muted there. Final X, I love your courses. I love that you are doing live streams now too. Thank you. We are going to be doing live streams more regular. We're going to create a schedule, and Al's going to be actually live streaming the art pipeline to this game. So, and he's got a bunch of cool Photoshop stuff he's going to be showing you guys how he does things. So it's really neat. And anything he does with Cinema 4D, it's just crazy. All right, so everyone should be able to hear me now. So let's go ahead and create this custom editor. I want to basically make it so that we can, let's go ahead and make it so that we can just add a button here that's going to basically populate a new waypoint for Al. So basically when Al drags this in, what's going to happen here is it's going to have point A, B, C, and D. These are going to be gone. We're going to dynamically add these through a custom inspector. All right, so here's our moving platform. He can set the platform speed, and then he can also he can get the current waypoint value for debugging, and then he can know if it's reversing. So one thing we do want to know is maybe we should tell Al that this is just for debugging purposes. And there are some things we can do, and I believe because one thing we don't want is we definitely don't want Al. Although let's see if it breaks if you trigger this. It shouldn't trigger this. You should be able to actually click this in reverse on its own. It shouldn't break anything, actually. Because when you click that, if it's in reverse, it's just going to reverse it. And then once it's at 0, it goes back. So it's fine if Al wants to experiment reversing it in real time. Doesn't matter. All right, so let's go to Unity and figure out how to do this together. So the first thing here is I need to look at custom inspectors. So I'm going to type in Google custom inspector for Unity. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the building a custom inspector. So Unity does have a whole tutorial series on drawing them. And what's nice about the video here is that they also provide some source code, so we can kind of just glimpse at it. Here you can see that they're creating a level script that has some experience, a level, and it returns some experience, right, to calculate a level. And then here they created an editor. So this here is what's important. They're creating an editor script that inherits this editor here. So this is what's really important. And then to actually override what you actually see in the inspector, you use this method here called onInspector GUI. So here they have the target, which is the script. So you need to have a target, and that's going to allow you to access variables from our code. And then here they have target.experience, and that's the editor GUI layout. And this is actually creating like fields and custom things for it. So we're going to get into that as well. So let's go ahead and first create this. So we're going to create a platform editor that's going to be extended and help out L. So inside our SDK here, I'm going to create an editor's script folder. So here's our moving platforms. I'm going to create an editor folder. So here, editor. Remove the second equal. Oh, is that why the ternary wasn't working? Or what were you referring to? That could be why the ternary wasn't working, I imagine. I was probably doing 2 equal signs. Let me see here. I repeated everything I said after the commercial, guys. Sorry, I'm a little behind on the chat here. Let's see. Thanks for subscribing. I don't know how to say your name. Let's see here. All right, so we have our editor folder. We're going to create a new C# script, and this is going to be platform editor. So this is our moving platform, and for convention wise, you typically want to keep it the same name as the script, just with the extended editor code tagged onto it. So here, moving platform editor, and then here we have moving platform. Yeah, thank you. Dragon or Dracon Hawk is absolutely correct. I believe I had 2 equal signs. Let's see here. All right, so just to compare these, we have moving platform editor. So let's go ahead and open this back up. We're not going to be inheriting mono behavior. We don't need any of this. And instead, we need to be using Unity Engine.editor. Oh, and actually, maybe you don't anymore. Unity Engine. Oh, I thought you had to. Maybe it's built into Engine now. Here, we're going to just incorporate from editor. Unity editor. Oh, you do. Weird. Using Unity Engine dot Unity editor. I don't know why that's not working. The type of namespace editor does not create. Hang on. Let me go ahead and just save this out real quick. Close Visual Studios. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I think I just saw the code error. Oh yeah, an else if reversing. Thank you. Draken has a great idea for that. We'll go ahead and come back to optimizing that. All right, come on, Visual Studio. All right, so here we are. Platform editor, this should extend editor. And once again, it does not want to do that. Although Unity editor is available. Maybe is that the new name? Show potential fixes. Unity editor internal? No. I have no idea why it's not picking this up. So let's just go to here. So they are using Unity editor. Oh, it's editor, that's why. So at the namespace here, we have using Unity engine. Using Unity editor. There we go. Namespace editor. Okay. So here we have moving platform editor, which is going to inherit from editor. Once we've done that, we actually need to now target, we need to tell Unity, hey, what are you making an editor, or what are you making a custom editor for? And it's for this moving platform script. So to do that, we'll see here that they use custom editor and then the type of, and the whatever you are actually, whatever it is you're actually making a custom editor for. All right, so it's a custom editor attribute. So let's go ahead and add that. We're fasting, John, which means we don't eat or drink for 16 hours. Oh, okay. Is it, I'm not familiar with it, but is it Ramadan or something? But good, that's awesome. Let me see here. Where was this live session announced? My friend sent me this, but I would like to know where it was announced so I can follow it if there is one. Hey, George, every time we go live, you can check us out on our Facebook page at Defiant Lobster Games, or if you're in the course on Discord, I'll always mention that we're going live, or if you go to twitter.com/DefiantLobsters, we always post that we're live. All right, so let's go ahead here and add that type of attribute or custom editor. So here we have a custom editor attribute, and we are going to create a type of, and what's the custom editor? It's moving platform. All right, so once we save that, what we can do now is we have two functions we can do. We need to actually get access to our moving platform script. So the way we do that is we actually say target. We have to create a target variable. And as we can see here, they're doing the exact same thing. So var target, or for us, moving platform target, is going to equal the target of that script so we can have access to it. Now, in order to actually draw, we need this onInspector GUI. So watch what happens here when we add this onInspector GUI. This is what's actually going to paint our GUI over the inspector. So check this out. So we are going to add public override because we want to override the current system. And if you're not familiar with function overloading, we do cover this in depth in course 3, which is the ultimate guide to 2D mobile game development, the game we're creating here. And public override, we want to say onInspector GUI. So right now, if I just run this, nothing's going to happen. But if I remove this, then check this out. So let's go ahead and hop back into Unity. And if we look at the moving platform, when it compiles, watch what's going to happen. It's going to be just a blank canvas now. And that's because we're using the onInspector GUI. We're overriding what the traditional one is because I want to create a custom experience for Al when he's working on these moving platforms. So what do we need to do next? We need a target. So here we need to access information from our moving platform script to be able to help Al out. So to do that, we're going to say moving platform, and we're going to say target is going to equal, we're basically going to say equal the moving platform. So we're going to cast it as a target. So there's this thing called target, and Unity automatically will handle giving you access to it. So the best way to do that is we actually say, that's if we look at how they did it, you can just cast it to your level script. So whatever target is, and it looks like target knows what it is. So I've actually typed target. It does know it's a moving platform, but I guess it's best practice to always cast it to moving platform. So I can say moving platform like this, moving platform in parentheses. I could also just type target as moving platform, and both of these will work just fine. There's no performance difference or anything like that with either method, whichever you're comfortable with. All right, so here we have moving platform target, and we equal it to target, which is a moving platform. And what's it not like? Oh, because I'm using the same variable name. So here, let's call this MP for moving platform. All right, so now if we save this, once again, nothing's going to happen. If I want to extend the current editor, what can I do? I could say base.onInspector GUI, and that's going to call the default implementation followed by my implementation. So if by doing that, it's going to now appear as normal, and then I can extend it. So if I want to keep the current properties that were there, we can, which I think I do want to do. I want Al to be able to still assign the speed. I want him to be able to debug the current waypoint. Although this value, we may only want this to be read only, right? Because I don't want Al to be able to mess with this and set it to 50. So let's make that read only. So we are going to actually have to customize this entirely to make it so that he can't touch it. And then we do want to allow him to trigger if it's reversing or not. All right, so give me just 1 second, guys. Give me about 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, so sorry guys, I just had to handle that. All right, so let's go ahead and customize this. How do we display things? Well, if anyone is familiar with the old version of Unity prior to 4.6, you used to have to code all of your GUIs. So there's something called Gui Layouts that allow you to actually code graphical elements in Unity. And it used to be the only way to do things unless you had a plugin like UGUI, for example, or whatever it is. So we're going to go back to that, and we need to look at the scripting reference for what we can actually do. So let's look at here custom inspectors in Unity, and there's a documentation here for it. So custom editors is what we want. And not necessarily custom editors. These are windows. Actually, no, hold on. These are custom editors right here. Okay, yeah. So check out what they're doing here. You can create editor GUI layouts that basically allow you to draw on the screen of that script, right? So here you can create property fields and all sorts of different things. So I want to know what it is that I can actually do. So if I go to custom editors, let's go to the scripting API for it. I want to see the documentation for all of this stuff. So if I go into Unity Editor, classes, I'm looking for editor. And I want to custom editor in the inspector. So here's custom editor attribute. But I want to know I want to see everything I can do custom wise. I want to get all the things I can draw. So check this example out that they have here. Here they're creating a custom editor for the player. And you can see here they're just doing a bunch of different things here. They're creating a slider, they're creating a property field, they're doing rectangle stuff. I want to see a whole list of just this stuff though, and I think I just found it. Here, let's do this. Editor GUI layout. Here we go. All right, so here's everything we can do. We can create some groups, we can create horizontal stuff, and for now, let's just go ahead and create traditional fields. So one of the things we do want to allow out to do is to have the ability to define his platform speed, right? So for starters, the speed is private. I don't know if I can actually access that. If I say mp.speed, I don't have access to it because it's not a public variable. So we are going to have to create properties within the class so that we can access that. So if we go into the moving platform here, I need to be able to access the public variables. So the only thing public in here is literally nothing. So in order for me to display this information, we need a property that's going to return that info. Hey, what's up, Yassine? All right, so what I want to do now is let's go ahead and we have our variables here and let's create some properties. So we're going to have a public float platform speed. All right, so this is going to be platform speed. And we can get this value and we can set the value, or we can get it and return whatever, we can set it. So here, we're going to say, when you get the value, what's it going to return? It's going to return underscore platform speed. We don't want to set this value. So when you use this property, you can it's a read-only value, right? We don't want other scripts to necessarily adjust this functionality. So here it's going to get it and it's going to return the platform speed. So right now it's not liking this. Public platform speed, I get platform speed. Oh, right, I have to return that, guys, sorry. So here we're going to return platform speed. Likewise, we're going to create a public, we are going to create a bool for reversing. So here we're going to have public bool reversing. And we just want to get that value and return if we're reversing. All right, and then what else do we need? We also need the current waypoint, right? We want to be able to display to Al what the current waypoint is, but we don't want him touching it. So here we're going to say public int current waypoint. Okay, and when we get that value, what are we going to do? We're going to return the current waypoint. And I did something it doesn't like, but I don't know. Oh, here we go. Okay, so because we're doing that, from our custom editor, we can now modify this. So here I can actually access mp.currentWaypoint or reversing or whatever else the other ones are. All right, and eventually we'll do the same thing for the list too, because we need to change the list from here. So we don't want other scripts to necessarily have access to it, but we will need to populate that list. So we'll create helper methods within it to add those. All right, so let's go ahead and start creating what we want Al to see. So currently I do want him to see the speed, And then we want to allow him to debug it below. So we're going to have some debug options. So let's do that first. So inside here, let's create a header for him. So we're going to create a header attribute. And what we can do here is we can actually add parentheses and we can add a string. So for this, we're going to see platform. Let's go ahead and say platform properties. All right, so for the platform properties, the only thing he can actually do on it is probably adjust the speed, right? And maybe add and remove platforms or add and remove waypoints. So we'll do that. So platform properties, okay? So the first thing that we want to add here is a field that says, a field that says, how do we want to display that to him? The speed, all right? Let's give him a speed first, assign the speed. So how do we do that? If we go to our scripting API here, we have horizontal groups. We have color field. We're looking for a int field or a property field. So here's a float field, which is actually what we could do. Make a text field for entering float values. It's exactly what we want. We want him to enter in a float value for the speed of the platform. All right, so how do we do that? Well, they have a perfect example here. They're creating a menu item, scale selected object, whatever. Here we say editor GUI layout is going to be assigned to whatever they use. So check this out. We are going to assign the variable in the script to this. So actually, we do need to be able to set that information, it seems. Which actually is sort of annoying because I really don't want to do that. I just want to display it. Let me see here. This platform speed. Oh, you know what? We will make that public actually. Or we can keep it private there, but we can use it for we can use a property here. We have our platform speed. When we set the value, right? When we set the value of the platform speed from our editor script, we're going to go ahead and say that the platform speed equals whatever value is assigned from the inspector. So we use the value keyword. All right, save that. And we can then move over here and we're going to use editor GUI layout.float field. All right, so inside of our editor here, we're going to create a field for adding the speed or platform speed. So to do that, we have editor GUI layout dot float field. Editor GUI, that's not working. Why not? Let's see. Editor GUI layout dot, what's it not like? Interesting. Let me see here. Why did that not work? Oh yeah, we're looking for float. Right, these aren't divided into anything yet. So we do want to add a float field. Why did that not work? Editor GUI layout.float field. We're using Unity Editor. Oh, you know what? I wonder if that's for editor window only. Interesting. Hang on. So let's check out. I believe that could be what that's for. This could be for editor windows possibly only. Let me see here. Custom inspector properties. Unity. Let's see how they did it here. So here, this is for the player editor, creating custom editor, and they're using things like, okay, they are using editor GUI layout as well, so I'm actually not sure why that's not working. Unless we had something else causing problems. And it looks like we do. Here, 1 second, guys. Let's go ahead and just clean this up a bit. So it definitely doesn't like this header attribute for some reason. Why not? unexpected. Let's see, what's it missing? Why? Based on Inspector GUI, we add a header. That's the correct syntax for it. Header attribute, string attribute. Use this. It says use this property attribute to add a header above some fields in the inspector. Why? It's weird. I'm not sure why it doesn't like that. We'll come back to that. Let's see here if I can do editor GUI layout now. Dot float field, and now I can. So here, what's the float field? So the value is going to be, let's see here. We can have a label with options or a label with a value, which is pretty much what we want. So string label value and then GUI style options. Make a text field for entering float values. And then value is the value to edit. So let's see here, float values, let's go ahead and add MP dot, we want to say platform speed. And then we can add in some GUI layout options. So an optional list of layout options that specify extra layout properties. Any values passed in here will override settings. So I don't care about that, but it doesn't look like it's null. So what happens if I just pass in null? All right, and then here we need to say MP platform speed is equal to that. And it does not like this. What's happening? How did they do that? Let's see. We want custom inspectors. Just see their value here. Oh, okay. Maybe I read that wrong of what it is. Interesting. So here it should be. So dot float field should be a string value first. This is going to be like platform speed, followed by the value that's actually changing, which is mp dot platform speed. But that's not what it's asking for. Interesting. All right, so check this out. So we're gonna go ahead and let that compile. And it should say platform speed, and then it's gonna have something for us. All right, and it looks like it's not, oh right. So it's still calling based on inspector, so we're gonna remove that. And now it should have the platform speed, which it does down here. So it looks just like the traditional one that Unity provides, but now we're taking control of it. So here we have platform speed. I can assign it to whatever I want, and then that gets reassigned. So I'm saying platform speed equals whatever value is in the inspector. So now why we can't add a platform properties here, I don't know. We should be able to, but it really doesn't like that. And I think it's actually because that needs to be over a variable. So actually check this out. Ooh, you know what? We might be able to put that in here. And then it would need a variable though, I believe. Let me just test this out. Yeah, okay. Let's just see how this looks, I'm curious. It's not worth making a dummy variable just to have this. But let's see. All right, and no, yeah, I figured that wouldn't work. All right, so that's only useful if you're actually going to keep the variables drawn on the actual mono behavior, because those variables, then we can organize it. So not super worried about that. There might be an editor GUI layout title. Let's check, because I do want to customize it. So inside here we have editor GUI layout. All right, let's look at everything we can do again. And I don't see something just for like a title or a label maybe. Oh yeah, here we go. Here, so check this out, a label field. Make a label field useful for showing read-only info. So we'll use that so Al knows what's the current waypoint so that he can't modify it, but he can read it. So that would be a useful one to have. Looking through here, what else is there? There is, I don't see anything title or anything like that. Is there a title? Oh, inspector title. Okay, make an inspector window like title bar. Interesting, let's look at that one. Oh, that's going to create like this transform thing. Huh. Interesting. That's not really what we want, but maybe. Let's see here. No, I don't think that's really what we want, but we could add something like that. Let's see here. There is a long field, make a text field for entering long integers, label field. Let's go and check out what the label field looks like. Okay, so time since start and then values. Yeah, so that's just going to be for a label to debug something. Not really a title or a header. So I don't see that as an option here, which is fine. Oh, Sakar, that wouldn't work in that attribute thing. Real quickly, let's see here. Begin horizontal group and get its rect. Just going through these real quickly here. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right, I think we're okay then. Oh, you know what? Make a text field. What does that look like? Oh, object name now. Okay. All right, good deal. I'm not too worried about that then. So there's no title thing for this. Unless we were to probably create something for it. But, all right, so what else do we want to display here? So Al can set the platform speed, and then we also want him to be able to modify if it's reversing or not, so we can toggle that. And, oh, that's super annoying, actually. Hey, you know what, guys? Hold on. Check this out. We can do this. We're going to override the inspector, but we can still add our logs. So check this out. We have here the platform speed. We can add a header for this. And let's go ahead and say platform properties. Okay. And we will call the base, but we're still going to add our own custom functionality. So if we look at the moving platform right now, it's still going to be ours. And this will allow us to do what I want. So we do need to call the base.onInspector GUI. And then we're just going to extend it. And that's going to allow us to actually keep our headers. Should anyways. Let's see. And that was wrong. How annoying. Moving platform header. Man, I guess it has to have a public variable. That's ridiculous. Or a serialized variable. If I serialize it, it will show. Let's see. And there we go. So now I have platform properties, and you can see it's displaying the original platform plus this one. So not awesome just for that much, just to have that. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and save this, remove it. And let's go ahead and continue what else we need to show Al. So on the moving platform here, base.inspector, we're going to remove that. We're going to paint it all custom. So he can adjust the platform speed. All right, so MP, so platform speed, what is that going to be? And then we need buttons for him to actually add and remove layouts, or we need something for him to add and remove waypoints, right? And then we need to connect those waypoints. So let's go ahead and do that. So he's going to add a platform speed. We have the buttons, and we do want to know what the current waypoint is and reversing. So let's go and do reversing first. We'll add those into debug modes. So let's do the buttons now. So inside of editor GUI layout, let's find our buttons. So we are going to Make a button that reacts to mouse down for displaying your own drop-down content. I don't believe that's what we want. There's no picture. We don't want to create a drop-down button. We just want a button. Oh man, really? Hang on. I want to add button to inspector. All right, here we go. Unity has a tutorial on it. Object build editor. Oh, Gui Layout button. Okay, so I wonder if Gui Layout though. I think that it does work on custom editors. Let's try this. So if I can use Gui Layout, then I could have probably used. There are probably some like header stuff in there too. So Gui Layout. Let's give that a try. So here we have Gui Layout button. And we're going to just create some text. And then it looks like it takes a style, some params. All right, so this is going to be add waypoint. So you can add a waypoint, and let's create another button to remove a waypoint. So Gui Layouts button. You can add a waypoint and remove a waypoint. I don't know how we want to display that waypoint. All right, let's save that, see if we can see them. See if it displays. And let's look at what they're doing. Okay, cool. So check this out. You can add a waypoint and remove a waypoint. So now we need to actually make them work and create functionality for that. But we do have buttons. So we have platform speed, add a waypoint, remove a waypoint. Now, what I would like to be able to actually do here is possibly put them side by side, which is getting a little nitpicky. But there is definitely a way where we can do that using the Gui layout. So because we have access to the Gui layout, we actually have a lot more flexibility. So let's go ahead and check out the Gui layout class. Way more we can do with this. So here we can have boxes. We can have labels, make an auto layout label. This is a sized label. So let's see here. What do we want to do? We can begin a horizontal control group. And what this will allow us to do is create buttons just like this. I'm the first button, I'm to the right. And that's exactly what we want, right? So let's go ahead and create something like this. So we have Gui Layout begin horizontal. And basically it's going to stack everything horizontal until you do an end horizontal. So Gui Layout begin horizontal is what we want. So let's open up our script here. And we're going to add a Gui Layout dot begin horizontal. And then we need to end it so that we can then stack again. So here we say Gui Layout at the bottom dot end horizontal. Now by saving that, it should look a lot cleaner. All right, let it compile, and there you go. Check that out. Add a waypoint, remove a waypoint. All right, so we already have that working. That looks good. So after this, after we can do that, let's go ahead and populate. Let's go ahead and give him information about how many waypoints, right? So he'll know how many waypoints based on it populating, right, inside the as a child of the moving platform. But we can go ahead and say waypoint count, and then we can say current waypoint. So we'll give him some information about it. So let's go ahead here and let's say, let's get the waypoint count. So to do that, we're going to create a Gui layout dot, what do we want to do? Gui layout dot, there was some read-only value in the other one, but let's go ahead and create a label, I believe. So for this, it's just going to be Gui layout label. And let's just say, waypoint count. All right, so we have waypoint count. And then we're going to add on whatever the waypoint count is. So in order to get the waypoint count, inside this guy, we need a property that's going to return the count. So here, this is going to return current waypoint. Let's get a property that's going to return the count. So here we're going to have public waypoint count, or public, let's go and say waypoint count. When we get that value, what are we going to return? We're going to return underscore waypoints.count. All right, that way Al knows how many waypoints he's working with. All right, so in here, what are we going to do? We need to now say MP for moving platform dot waypoint count. All right, let's save this and see how it looks. Let's see. All right, perfect. So basically, it's going to automatically, as you add waypoints, that number is going to increase. Waypoint count. So we can actually just say waypoints. You know, we can just rename that to waypoints so it'll look better. Waypoints. Easy, right? All right, so we have our waypoints label, and then we have our buttons. So you can add a waypoint, you can remove a waypoint. Waypoints is there. And then we have our platform speed. And then let's go ahead and create some debug options here below. So one thing we want to be able to do is let's go ahead and create, let's add some spacing. You see how close this platform speed is to the moving platform there? We can actually add a bit of spacing there. So the way we can do that is by coming down here, and I believe there's something here that says Gui Layout dot space areas. I believe it's a space, should be. Let's see. I want to add some white space basically. Here we go. Insert a space in the current layout group. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, and then you can specify how many pixels. Perfect. So here we're going to say Gui Layout. So we're going to say Gui Layout dot space. And then let's go ahead and just specify maybe 20 pixels. So just like that, 20 px. And you can just put 20 in there. All right, it's in pixels. Let's see how that looks. And then we actually will go ahead and try adding in some labels, as I think it will look pretty good. So I do want this to be user-friendly for Al and to not hate using it. So that's the goal, right? So here we go. Now it looks better. We added some stuff. So let's go and actually add in a label here. So we're going to say Gui Layout dot label. And this is going to be, let's go ahead and say, what is this? This is going to be editor properties, right? Or I'm sorry, platform properties. And there might be a way we can actually bold this. Let's see, Gui Layout Options, Gui Layout Option dot, I don't know if there's a way to bold it, but we'll figure it out. And then what we want to do here is add another space. So Gui Layout dot space. And we're going to go ahead and say maybe like 80 pixels. All right, let's see how that looks. Save it. And then we're going to get into the functionality once we have the design how we want it. All right, cool. So that was way too much, but as you can see here, it's platform properties, and I would love to either center it and space it. So I do want to see how we can do that. So let's go ahead and create like a header custom inspector. And I want to stay on this one actually. So let's say here, header custom inspector. Can I draw a header in my custom inspector? Okay, and you can using label field. All right, that does the same thing as header. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do that. So editor GUI layout dot label field, and we'll do that. So here we have platform properties. We're going to go ahead and say GUI editor layouts or editor layouts. Yep. Dot label field. And the label is going to be whatever it was, right? platform properties. And then we can pass in editor layout dot, how do I make it bold? How did he do that? Oh, editor styles. Sweet. All right, so editor styles. Editor styles dot bold. Bold label. Interesting. Let's do that. All right, see how that looks. So you guys might be wondering, one of the things I get all the time too is why don't I just copy and paste code? The reason why I never copy and paste code is if I do, I'm not going to remember what it does. When you type out the code, you're actually like learning, you know? I definitely recommend, like if you copy and paste, you're just, you know, some things when it's redundant, yeah, copy and paste it. But if you're doing new things like this, definitely always type it out because it's just going to help you retain the information. So, and perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Check that out. Perfectly bold. It's definitely, you know, it's a, it's a title. And then it'd be even better if I could underline it, but I don't care about that. So we apply that, and then I'm going to change this to about 25 pixels. And let's see how that looks. So here we have platform properties. So we have platform speed, we have waypoints. How many waypoints are in it? Cool. And even that was too much. Maybe it doesn't even need it. Maybe it does. Let's add just 5. We can remove them. Waypoints, how many you have. Our platform speed. And then let's go ahead and create our debugging section. So for the debugging section, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to grab this info. And we want to add it below all of this stuff. So here we're going to have debugging information. So let's add like let's add a space for debugging. So here we're going to add Gui Layout dot space. And let's go and add 25 pixels to that. And then here we're going to go ahead and say debug properties or testing. Yeah, we can say we can say testing properties. All right, testing properties. And what do we want to allow him to do? So we want him to be able to toggle reverse, and then also we want him to debugging properties. Let's do that. We want him to just read the current waypoint. All right, so here we have that. And then here we can go ahead and say Gui Layouts dot, we want him to be able to toggle reversing. So here we're going to have a bool. So we're going to add a editor layout here. So editor Gui Layout dot, so a bool field dot checkbox toggle. Here we go. All right, so make a toggle basically. So here we're going to say basically reversing, right? So for this toggle, we're going to say reversing. And the value that it's going to affect, string label and value, params. And the value is just going to be mp.reversing. Let's just see what that does. All right, see how that looks. All right. Here we go. Debugging properties, reversing. Perfect. So you'll see here that it's not actually doing anything though. It's not letting us actually toggle it. So here we have reversing, and then I am passing in the value here. Why? Do I need to assign it to that? I might need to say MP platform or MP dot, what is it, reversing equals this. But no, that's not right. Cannot be assigned to, it's read only. Oh, okay. Oh, toggle is read only. Interesting. Wait, what? Oh, right. Hold on, guys. Inside moving platform, it's read only. I need to actually say set, and we're going to say reversing is going to equal reversing value that we assigned. So because it looks like we're turning these into public properties, we can also convert them to auto properties at the end, which we'll probably do. So here we are, we have reversing equals MP. Let's save this just to see if it works without me assigning it. All right, and the answer is no. So let's go ahead and add that line back. So here we have mp.reversing and assign it to that. If that doesn't work, we'll go to Google. But hopefully that works. And it's giving us a Stack Overflow issue. I think we may have caused some sort of loop failure. It does not like that. I think it's this part here that's really messing it up. But one second here. Let me see here. If we just do a label, can we? No. So it's asking for an optional list of layout options. Why? So here, let's see here. Custom inspector bool. All right, property drawers. Let's see here. Are they doing anything with a bool? I'm not sure. Do we see toggle anywhere? Yeah, we do. Okay, they're using Gui Layouts. So Gui Layout.toggle, position, Gui Layout.width, and I'm not sure what the heck that's for. I didn't have to add any of that. Copy position, layout.width. I'm not sure what that is. But maybe that's how big that checkbox is or something. Let's go ahead and try this. So reversing. So we're doing the same thing as them. Right? They're saying copy position equals editor layout.toggle, the value, and then the width of it for some reason. So I shouldn't have to do that though, but let's go ahead and just say mp.reversing here. If I save that, maybe it'll work. Let's see. All right, let's see here. So it's still giving me the Stack Overflow, it looks like. Why? Why is it being so difficult? So let's literally copy their example and see what that's about. Because we do want this to toggle on and off. So here is mp.reversing, and then Gui Layout.width. I'm not really sure what the width is. We'll figure it out. Let's save it, test it out. Yeah, it is like not having it with that button. Stack Overflow, the requested operation caused a stack overflow. That is not good. Hold on. Let's go ahead and figure this out. Add toggle custom inspector into Unity. So I'm trying to use this. Value params. Okay, here we go. Yeah, why can't I just get that? Just give me that. Make a toggle. That's all I want. So here to do that, they do... Oh, interesting. Hold on. Show button. This is true. That's their bool. Okay, that's our value. And then here, that. So literally that's exactly what we did the first time. I don't know why it would not let us do that. Literally, that was our original code. So let's go ahead and try that again. This is going to be mp.reversing, which is our bool. Reversing. And actually, I wonder if that's causing issues. Although no, it's setting it. So it's setting it to whatever the value we pass in. We'll test this out in a second, but that could be a problem there. This is going to be reverse. And this is going to be the value. So mp.reversing. I wonder if we need to access that variable directly, possibly. We'll see. So here we are. We have our reverse. And once again, it's doing a Stack Overflow. So I wonder if it's because of this property. So if I actually remove the property here, check this out. What if I actually just did a variable? Let's just have like a variable here for, what's it called? A toggle, right? So like, let's call it reverse toggle. So private bool reverse toggle. And then we'll assign it to that. So here, reverse toggle equals the toggle, and then it's, I guess it's assigning it to this reversing value though, which is really just awful. But let's see, maybe that's how we have to do it. Try this, let's see. All right, here's our reverse. And once again, I still can't click it, so I have no idea what the hell is actually wrong with that. It would be nice if Al could click that and reverse the flow of things. So that's super, super interesting why we can't do that. Damn, I really would like to figure that out. Why? Let's see here. Custom inspector bool. If bool is true, then show variable. Custom editor toggle multiple bools in one line. Inspector. Let's see here. We want to toggle bool custom inspector, and it wants us to use toggle. Let's see here. Custom editor show variables using a toggle. Oh, we don't want that, but let's see here. What are they doing? Yeah, they're doing something with a button here. We don't want that. So that, oh, you know what? Well, it should still check mark though. Like if we actually look at editor GUI layout.toggle, like in their actual images here, that's what I want. I just want that. Oh, you know what though? They're using this to actually show functionality, to show a button, but it still should check, right? So here they have this. Here, let's try and do it their exact example if we can. All right, so there's bool show button. And then we're going to go ahead and grab this. And it should work according to Unity. All right, let's save that. Oh, you know what? And then there's logic for that show button, isn't there? Hold on. There is. So they're doing a toggle. They're doing the window is based on, I imagine based on that. Editor GUI layout toggle. Yeah, get window, editor layout toggle. So that might not be what we actually want, possibly. Although, I take it back. It is what we want. So why does that work, but ours thing doesn't? How does that make any sense? Okay, so here, show button equals, we're toggling that show button. All right, so let's go ahead and modify this now for our purposes here. So I'm going to say private bool, show button is going to be reverse button. All right, here's our reverse button. Okay, by default, it's going to be false. Our reverse button is here. This is going to be reverse, so Al can toggle that. And then here we're going to say reverse. All right, so if we save this, it should look good, but it's not going to actually update the value in our script, right? So we need to actually then say, hey, go ahead and update our moving platform. And there we go. Reverse, reverse. Perfect. All right. After you do that, what we need to then do is we actually need to assign that value. So for that, and it's weird that I can't toggle that. Like I can't just set this value, right, to be the MP script. But what I can do after that is immediately just say MP script here. So MP dot reversing equals this reverse button. So when owl toggles it, it's going to automatically update that property. So equals, yeah, reverse button. All right, it's automatically going to toggle if we're reversing or not. All right, so debug properties. So owl, from the inspector while it's running, he can reverse things. And what the heck? Why am I getting that Stack Overflow? Come on. Ah, it's because it's constantly assigning this maybe, although it's not complaining here. That is super annoying. I have to get that value over there. My God. Let's see. Reverse button equals reverse button. And I don't think I can use, I can't do MP dot reversing. And that does get in set. So the way they're using it is they're using it to basically create a button that it's used to like display things. Like if I wanted to have a toggle so that Owl could have additional drop-down menus, that's what you could use this for. But I actually want Owl to be able to toggle a bool here, which we don't have access to, right? So causing a bit of a oh, you know what, actually? Hold on, guys. This might be actually very simple. Well, let's see here. What if we had just a, so on inspector GUI, we basically need to display that. Is there a property drawer or something? Let's see. Let's look at this. Let's see here. Toggle bool custom inspector. So a lot of people use it to like show variables if it's true. We don't want that. We actually need to like we need to actually call into that function. Let me see here. Custom draw bool variables unity. We don't want to do that. That's going to draw the default inspector. Let's see. Show variables if Boolean is true. How has no one else had this problem before? Hiding your assuming inspector properties. So I find it weird that there wouldn't be something like something like this. How we're doing the label field, or not the label for the platform speed, right? So we have editor GUI layout dot float field. There's no bool field. Oh, here we go. Boolean field. Well, not an SQL server. So let's type in bool field unity. Oh, here we go. What is property field? Ah, there we go. Property field. That's what we want. True if the property has children expanded. The serialized property to make a field for. Let's see here. Use this when you want to customize the look of the options for a game object in the inspector. Use this to create fields for serialized properties. More information on changing the editor is available in the editor. So maybe this is what we want, hopefully. They use an editor here. Serialized property, we would say, let's see here. This would be serialized property like, what's it called? This would be serialized property reversing. And then in here, they're grabbing it. Oh, serialized object.find. Okay, very interesting. They're making it so you can read that. And then here, property field. And then you can apply changes to the serialized property. Okay, interesting. Let's interesting. We can try this. This is a messy way to do it, but let's give that a shot. So here we're going to create a serialized property. So here, serialized property, and let's go ahead and call this reverse. All right. And if we look back, once we've done that, we create our serialized property. We're going to use onEnable. So I believe that's only called once when the object's enabled. We're going to fetch the objects from the game object script to display them in the inspector. And we're going to find a property. So I believe this is using what's called reflection in C# to do that. All right, so we're going to use serialized object.find property on it. So to do that, we are going to go ahead and say void onEnable. And if we just go back here, they're saying that equals serialized object.find property. Now the question is, automatically handy of multi-object editing. How does it know what object to find that on though is the question, right? The variables and game objects from, oh, I guess it automatically grabs it because of this. We're telling it what script to look for. Interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this. And we're looking for myInt, and if we look here, he actually called it myInt. So this would be like my bool. So here we have underscore reverse is going to equal the serialized object find property, and the property that I want off this moving platform here is reversing, or underscore reversing. All right, let's try that. So then, is that going to actually give me that value? So, and then what is he doing? They draw it, right? So then they can actually say on inspector GUI, they do this property field, and then new GUI content with layout options. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. So we are going to copy this one. All right, so once we're down here, debugging properties, let's add a property field of reverse, and it's going to say reverse. Now hopefully it lets me toggle this. That'd be really nice. I don't think it is though. Save. Just to see what it kind of does. I wonder if it's just going to allow us to display information, or is it going to actually let me toggle that? And it's giving me a no reference because it can't find it, which I thought would happen. Because I don't know how the, oh, you know what? Well, yeah, because I don't know how it's actually grabbing that. Let's see, can edit multiple objects attribute. Maybe this doesn't apply to us. Super annoying. Man, that's that is super annoying, guys. So we'll figure something out for this. Let's move on to something else though before we lose our minds over that. So let's see here. On the onInspector GUI, I'm going to remove all of the stuff we just did for onEnable and this reverse stuff, because all I want to do is update a property. All right, MP platform speed. What else did we want out to do? We also wanted to have a label that was read-only for, very similar to how we're doing this waypoints here. So let's go ahead and add this one. So instead of waypoints, it's going to be current waypoint. So he'll be able to monitor which waypoint we're currently at. So we're going to say mp.current waypoint. Oh yeah, no, I mean this is all, yeah, no, this is all part of the experience. There's no such thing as a software engineer who knows everything. And there isn't a single software engineer in the workplace that doesn't literally encounter issues like this, and you have to just take a break, come back to it, and you'll solve it the next time you take a look at it. So here we are, current waypoint. If we go ahead and go back into the editor here, and you'll see here we have debugging properties, and it should say, there we go, current waypoint. So how many waypoints we have, and then we have current waypoint. So let's go ahead and just get this working with add waypoint buttons now. So the first thing I want to do is just implement functionality to basically increase that value. So what we're going to be doing here is on inspector GUI here, basically when we click these buttons here, right, when we add a waypoint and remove a waypoint, we're basically going to call functions that are going to then handle adding a new waypoint and removing a waypoint. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to do that, I suppose we can create the functionality here. I don't see why not, and add it manually to the list, right? We should be able to do that. Or if it makes more sense to have that functionality in here, and actually that's probably what we should do, right? We probably should have that functionality in here. So have all the editor layout stuff there, but all the functionality actually takes place here. So to do that, what we're going to do here is we're going to have two functions. We're going to have a public void. We're going to add waypoint. And then we're going to have public void remove waypoint. All right, so here we're going to remove waypoints. Now, what needs to happen when these buttons are added or pressed, right? So add waypoint, what are we going to do? We're basically going to say, we're going to grab our current list. So we're going to say waypoints dot add, and we're going to add a waypoint here. So what I want to do though is pretty much just increment that variable. So, and to do that, we can actually just create a waypoint. It's okay. So we're going to create a waypoint. So we're going to say game object go equals a new game object. This is going to be waypoint whatever. So we're going to name it. The name of this is actually going to be current waypoints. Let's go ahead and say underscore waypoints. And we want to get the current count. So if it's 0, then this is going to be 1. All right, or if it's 0, then this is going to be 0. If it's 1, it's going to be 1, and so forth, right? So here we have game object go equals new game object, and we're going to name it whatever the count is. So here we're going to say this is waypoint what? This is waypoint 0, waypoint 1, waypoint 2, and so forth. So once we create that object, what we want to do is we would then want to say, we want to child the object. So we're going to say GameObject.child or GameObject.parent, which is inside of transform. And we're going to say equals this dot transform. All right, so we're going to parent it to the primary platform object. And we're going to do the exact same thing for remove. So when we remove a waypoint, we want to remove the last waypoint. So first off, we need to check if there is a last waypoint, right? So if waypoints.count is greater than 0, then we can remove some. So here, if underscore waypoints.count is greater than 0, that means you have at least one waypoint, then what do we want to do? If it's greater than 0, we're going to remove the last waypoint. So to do that, we're going to say underscore waypoints dot remove, and then we need to actually remove the last element. So how do we remove the last one? And I believe there might be a remove at. So you can pass in an index to remove at. But also there is remove. And what does remove do? Oh, okay, so you can actually pass in an object to remove, but we actually want to remove at. And the at position is we're going to pass in an index, and that index is going to be the count. So if you have 1, it's basically going to be the count minus 1, which is going to remove them. So because numbers start at 0. So here we're going to say current waypoint dot count, or not current waypoint, but underscore waypoints dot count. So if you have one item, right, the list is going to be populated. It's element 0, so we want to remove waypoints dot count minus 1. All right, and that's going to remove a waypoint. Here, once we've created a waypoint, we now need to add this object to the list. So how do we do that? Well, we say underscore waypoints dot add, and we're going to add this waypoint to the back. And it's automatically going to get added to the back. So we're going to say add, and it's looking for a transform. So we're going to say go.transform. That's the object we created. So what we can do now is go to our custom editor here, and we're going to check when we click these buttons. So we're going to create an if statement here and an if statement here. So if I click the add waypoint button, what needs to happen? So if Gui Layout.button add waypoint, then what happens? We're going to add a waypoint. So we're going to say mp.add waypoint gets called. And likewise for the other one is if we call this method the remove waypoint, what happens? We're going to call mp.remove waypoint. So let's save this, and we should see our custom editor update in real time, as well as see objects get actually added to this moving platform object. So check this out. Once it's done compiling. All right, so here we go. We're going to add a waypoint, and here we go. Waypoint 0 is added, and check it out. Waypoints is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and look at that. They're named waypoints whatever. We have 6 waypoints, and let's go ahead and try removing some. Remove a waypoint. It's now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it's removing the waypoints, but it's removing it from the list. Now that's important. It's removing it from the list, but what's it not doing? It's not removing them from here, right? So we actually want to delete those objects. So to do that, what we're going to do is inside our moving platform here, we're removing them from the list, but we also need to actually get that object. So to do that, we need to actually grab it. So we're saying remove, before we actually remove it from the list, let's grab the object first and delete it as well. So here we're going to say waypoints, we're going to say destroy. And I believe destroy will work. We'll have to test this out. But we're going to say destroy, and we're going to remove that waypoint. So we're going to say waypoints list. And then what sub index do we want? We want the underscore waypoints.count, the last one, right? At the end of the list. .count -1. And that's going to give us what we want. Okay, let's test it out again. And we should have this working. So as of right now, the only thing owl cannot do is reverse. But now that I think about it, we might be able to, there's some work, like already I'm thinking of some workarounds that we can do. So we'll revisit that in a second. All right, here we go. We're going to remove these waypoints again and re-add the list. So the list should have recompiled. So waypoints in list is 1. I'm going to remove it. Now I caused that error myself because I've, oh, it says use destroy immediate instead. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to use destroy immediate instead. So here, destroy immediate, and that's going to allow us to destroy in the editor. All right, so right now current waypoints is 0. And as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and add some waypoints. All right, so we're going to add a waypoint. Waypoint 0 was added. Let's add 5 waypoints. And now we can remove waypoints. And still can't do that. It says can't destroy transform component. Right, so what we want to do, guys, is once we have that transform component, then we need to say .gameObject. We can destroy the game object. Try one more time. Go ahead and let it compile. So waypoints is currently 4. It should hopefully go back to 0 maybe. Probably not. Okay, waypoints is 4. I'm going to remove them, and there we go. Check it out. So let's go ahead and delete this one here. All right, so here we go. So here's our platforms. We're going to add some waypoints, and then we're going to create a visual editor and space them out for Al so that he can actually see them in the scene view. All right, because that's going to be important for him. All right, so we added those. We have 5 waypoints, and now we're going to remove a waypoint, and then remove another one. We're going to remove 2, 2 left, and there we go. Now what happens if I hit this again? Nothing happens. So we can add waypoints and remove waypoints. Pretty cool, right? And it's automatically added in our list. So if we actually test this out, we have 3 waypoints. check this out. I can take waypoint 1, move it over here, waypoint 2, move it there, waypoint 3. Let's go ahead and move it up. If we run this, it should work. So all OW is responsible for doing is moving them around. And what we're going to do, it looks like I got a null reference here. Let's check that out. All he's responsible for doing, though, is just moving them around. We're going to give him some visual aid for that as well. So inside this editor here, let's check and see what this null reference is referring to. It's the moving platform. It's saying line 61, so let's see. Okay, so if platform position equals waypoints current. Okay, so basically, waypoints current waypoint is 0. So interesting, and that would oh, you know what? I think underscore platform is null because we didn't assign it in the inspector. So we want to make sure that that is definitely assigned. So the way we're going to do that is we need to basically say grab the first element here. Grab this guy. So OW is not ever going to be responsible for modifying anything here. We want to make sure that we do grab this. So to ensure that, what we can do is inside our moving platform, we're going to create a void start function. All right, so void start, and here we're going to say underscore platform is going to equal get component in children, or we're going to say transform dot get child, and I want the first element, which is always going to be the parent, or which is always going to be the platform, and that should now work. All right, so we'll test this out. We should still have four moving platforms in our list. I'm just going to save my scene in case Unity decides to crash here. All right, so we have no waypoints. So that is an issue right there. That keeps getting reset somehow. So I'm going to delete these. Or let's go ahead and actually remove waypoints. Yeah, okay. We'll have to do some debugging on that. But let's go ahead. Let me stop the game. Hold on. It's still giving us a null reference here. I'm not really sure why. Platform.position equals waypoints current position, and that's in that case that's because current position was null, or current waypoint is null, the waypoints, right? So what we do want to do here is just check before moving. So here, if waypoints dot count equals 0, that means our list is empty. We don't want to move this platform. It's a steady platform. So if it's greater than 0. So if waypoints.count is greater than 0, then we have a waypoint to move to. And really, in order for it to move, it needs 2. So we're going to say if the count is greater than 2. Greater than 1. So we have at least 2 destinations. All right, let's save that. Go back to our platform here. Let's get our buttons back. Okay, so here we're going to add waypoints. All right, we added 6 waypoints. I'm going to remove 6. All right, we'll add 3 or 4 again. We're going to move 0 here. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, also check this out. So this platform here is at 0, 0, 0. These guys, though, are getting spawned not at 0, 0, 0. So we definitely want these guys. We're going to control their spacing, but we definitely want them. We need the platform, or at least the first one, has to be at the platform's position. So when we add a waypoint, we're going to basically go ahead and 0 out its position. So once we do that, we're going to say go.transform.local position equals vector3.0. That way they're stacked on the platform. Let that save. Okay. And if we look, we have 4 waypoints in the list, and I don't know if I can remove these guys. Okay, I can still. Good. All right, that's important. So here we can add 4. So here we go. Let's keep 0 there. 1 is going to be here. 2 will be like down here. 3 will be up, and 4 is going to be back. All right, we'll save it and test it out. And we're still getting that damn null reference. So something is null, so we got to figure out what is null. Here, if waypoints.count is greater than 1, we're calling movement. So something in here is definitely null. What we need to do is figure out what. So let's see here. I don't know if it's the platform. I don't believe so. Let's go ahead and add some logs here. If platform, if the platform equals null, we're going to say can't find platform. And then here we're going to add this is going to be if underscore waypoints, we're going to say current waypoint. If underscore waypoints current waypoint, let's check and see if that equals null. No destination. Because something is bugging out here. Alright, let's see. And one thing we could also probably do to debug this, or just visually debug it, is check this out. Let's go ahead here and let's serialize this just for now. And then inside the moving platform here, we're gonna call base.onInspectorGUI just so we can actually see what that. I want to visually see that list get populated to make sure that is happening. All right, let's see. So here we are on the moving platform. All right, let's go ahead and set that to 0. So on our moving platform, we have waypoints here. So as I add a waypoint, check it out. It is indeed adding them, which is great. And then it's also removing them. So we know for a fact that that is working. So we have these 3 waypoints. Let's add 4. Once again, 0 is here. 1 is going to be here. 2 is going to go up. And 3 will go in reverse. All right. So we'll save this and let's run it. We know that those objects are actually there. Let's see. Okay, now it's working. I don't get it. That was weird. Let's make sure that it had nothing to do with calling this base inspector and making this private, because that's the only thing I actually changed. Okay, so it should still have those waypoints. It should say waypoints is 4. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. And now it's erroring out. So what gives? And you'll see here that our inspector, when we run it, is totally jacked. So something here is happening big time. It's saying if waypoints.count. So it's taking me to this line here. If waypoints.count is greater than 1. So is waypoints like getting set to 0 or something? What's happening to waypoints when we run this thing? Huh, that's so strange. Why would it work when we serialize that field? So here, this is basically, it's basically saying that our waypoints values are null. So hold on. Let's go ahead and do waypoints.count. Let me see here. So in here, it's giving us an error. So what we can do here, my points.count is greater than 0. Interesting. I want to know, let's see here. Let's just do this. Let's get the print out of that. So here, if waypoints dot So we're just going to check and see if waypoints, and let's just say it's we're just going to say it's null. So if waypoints, underscore waypoints equals null, can I do that? All right, so if our list is null, we're going to go ahead and just print out here it's null. And I think that's what's happening. I think our waypoint is null, which is not good. All right, and then here, let's just comment that out and this. So there could be something that we need to call in on inspector that needs to like update constantly, possibly. Not 100% sure. Let's see. All right, and it is null. So the question is why? We are populating it through our code, calling those functions. It's adding to that list. We watched it add. Why would that be happening? So our list is null at runtime. So let me see here. Let's do this. Waypoint equals a new list of type transform. All right, and then here we are saying waypoints dot whatever. We're adding it to a list. And let's make sure here. Debug.log adding waypoint. And we'll copy that. And we'll put it over here as well. So here we're removing a waypoint. So now these should get called when we press those buttons. Go and let compile. Alrighty, so let's see here. If we add a waypoint, it says adding waypoint. And we know that it added a waypoint. So here's waypoint 0, that's in the list, so I can delete these guys. And let's go ahead and we'll run it with 2 waypoints. So adding waypoint got called. Something is like resetting that list or something. Let's see. Okay, interesting. Now it seems to be working. Let's go ahead and space out waypoint 1. Oh, right. Well, it's not working because we removed the movement code, but it's not saying it's null. Oh, and actually, you know what? We do have, we did comment it out, but it's not saying it's null. So maybe that's all we had to do. We had to initialize it, the list. So let's add this back in. Let's save it. If we look at our custom inspector here. All right, so here we are. Waypoints is 0. So let's delete these. Remove a waypoints. All right, so here we go. We're gonna add new waypoints. We add 3. We'll add 1 over there, and 2 will go over here. All right, and let's save this. So it wasn't printing out that our list was null, which is great. So let's go ahead and save it and run it. All right. Nothing is happening. And once again, though, check out the waypoints. It says 0. So something is definitely resetting that to 0. So hold on. Let's see here. Why would that be? So custom inspector values get reset on play. Okay, I've written my first custom inspector for my game stats. Good. And he's having the same issue as us, right? For both SoCal, and they're both pretty much identical. However, my player stats values always resets when I enter play mode. Okay, but it's only one of his scripts, but let's see what the answers are. You have several problems. First and foremost, you should not mix serialized object with serialized properties with the target variable. So we're not using any of that. Let's see, also you don't properly communicate your changes. Serialized object property. Serialized objects is the preferred way of manipulating the serialized data. Serialized properties. This serialized is actually a copy of the serialized data, not that the serialized data is completely abstracted. Let's see, you can either bring up your own UI, targets. Let's see here. Using target is actually the legacy method of editing. No, hold on. It's not really what we want. All right, so let's see. This has been driving me nuts. I've worked with Unity for years, but this is the first time I've ever really made an editor. After scrounging the internet, trying to sift out yada yada. Okay, specify ranges, but I have plans for this. However, when I hit play, any values entered in the inspector reset to 0. So this is pretty much what's happening here. Hey, what's up, Ty? How's it going? All right, so what am I doing wrong? Let's see what he's doing, right? So he did what we did, created properties, right? And then inside his editor here, he's adjusting those properties. What's he doing with that fold out thing? Huh, he's doing like some bool thing there. Let me see here. All right, there are a couple of problems here at a glance. Your underscore min and max fields are not marked with the serialized field attributes, so there is no way to save changes to them. Interesting. So you have, in order to save changes from them, they have to be serialized. Okay, that sort of makes sense. But I am using properties, so maybe that's not the way to do that. Can I not access those with properties? Let's see. So there is no way to save changes to them between domain reloads. You are editing values on your target inspected object directly instead of its serialized data. This by itself is not a problem, but puts the burden of a lot more work on you to make sure your changes are saved, that they are undoable, and that they work with multiple object selections. Instead of getting the target object and reading and writing it to its fields, you should instead use something like property find relative dot float value. Property dot property type equals serialized property type dot float. You may find an answer to this question helpful. Okay, so that totally makes sense that we would be doing this wrong. So here, they're doing something with type of yada yada and can edit multiple objects. I don't know what that one's for, but the problem here is that you are not dirtying the serialized data on the target. There are a number of ways to approach this, but in general, the best option for setting properties inside of onInspector GUI is to use serialized property instead of directly accessing fields on the target object, which is what I'm doing through a property. So doing so will properly serialize data, handle undo, redo, multi-selection, etc. The pattern is something like this. So let's see here. Does he have a bool? He doesn't use a bool. Let's see. Here he's doing a draw default this.serialize object.updates. If values equals emitter, begin checks. He has a GUI end whatever that is, end change check. Okay, so that could be why. So, but they're saying that if I serialize it, it might work. So let's go ahead and actually try that. So here, if these are serialized, like the platform speed is serialized, everything I suppose should be serialized. It's how to serialize there. Let's just see if that would work. Otherwise, we will have to figure out how to use those the reflection part. And reversing. So even Unity accesses the fields directly, so I don't think it's 100% wrong, but it could be better if, I guess, if you don't. But we'll figure it out. All right, so here, looking at our platforms, let's go ahead and remove these guys. All right, so here we are. We're reversing size, platforms, waypoints. Okay, so 1 second here. On our script, I'm going to, let's remove that. Hold on. This is displaying, interesting. These are somehow now actually displaying through the inspector. Weird. I don't like that. Oh, that's super annoying. Doing so will properly serialize data. Let's see. Type of laser handler. It's looking for the variable type. So that will work because it's actually serializing those fields, but I do want them hidden. Oh, man. It's about to get super messy just to get that to work, I think. Because I think what I can also add here is hide in inspector. We can add this tag. And let's see what that does. That will work. So here, hide in inspector. We're going to hide everything in the inspector. And we'll test that out. So they're serialized, but we are hiding them. So now we just see our stuff. So platform speed is set to 1, and we'll have to debug.log all that info. We'll experiment with it. But let's see here. So I can add some waypoints. All right, position 0 is there, 1 is going this way, 3 is going down, and we're going to say 2 is going up. Okay, so I'm going to run it. Waypoints, it says 4, so let's see if it goes to 0 now. Okay, there we go. That fixed it. So messy, but I think at the end of the day, it's kind of worth it because the script is going to be managed. I'll never have to touch the script again. So I'm okay with it. I am going to clean it up just a bit just to make it look a little nicer. But we have it working here. We can add waypoints, remove waypoints. Current waypoint is 2. Current waypoint is 1 because now I guess it's reversing. So all of this stuff is working really, really well. One of the things I want to do here is we're going to go ahead and tackle that bool issue. But let's go ahead and just clean this up. The way we can do that is have it in line like this. And just add a space in between each one. It gives it a little bit more readability. So, and then with this, we are using those properties, but we're not doing anything specific. So I'm going to actually turn them into auto properties. And we're actually, if we can try and get rid of these fields. So here, let's add that. So just aligning them in line like this. Okay, so we have our platform, our waypoints, and then so forth, right? So one of the things I want to do right now is to optimize this. I want to try removing these guys here and just create sort of like properties for it. So I hope we can do that. I'm not 100% sure, but let's see here. So for the reverse one, we can just say public. Well, reverse is giving us problems, so we're not going to do the reverse one. We're going to do let's do the platform speed one first. So these guys, I want them to be private, but we need to access them from our other script. Although, you know what? We do need to write the values. So actually, no, that's not going to work at all. We do have to keep these properties. So public reverse, current waypoint, we do need these. Because some of them we actually set the values. If we weren't setting the values, then we could have done auto properties and not need these fields. But because we're setting them, we do. So I'm going to put them here. All right, and I'm actually going to go ahead and collapse these. So here I'm going to create a region tag. So I'm going to create a region properties. And then at the bottom, I'm going to create an end region tag. And that's going to allow me to collapse this because that's such a mess. And there we go. So here we have region properties. And we can go ahead and just open them all up when we need to. All right, so properties, and there they are. You can collapse them. And then we can move void start down. All right, so we have our properties there. And now, so here, everything else is fine. So here we have our platform, waypoints, platform, current, and so forth. All right, so what do we want to do next here? So looking at this, what do we need? So we have our bool thing that we still need to fix. We can add and remove waypoints, and everything is saved here. I can remove them without problems. Let this compile. All right, so we have 6 waypoints. I'm removing them. Let's go ahead and make it so Al can actually visualize where these platforms are, and let's automatically space them out. All right, so what I want to do here is we're going to basically, every time I hit this add waypoint, I want it to move over here and have a connected line so that Al could visualize the behavior of where it's going to go. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use something called onDraw gizmos, I believe it is. So let's see here. Draw custom gizmos. That's what we're looking for. So API gizmos. All right, here we go. OnDraw gizmos. And that's going to allow us to actually create things and basically connect, create lines and connect them. So we're going to get that. All right, we're going to get this function here, OnDraw gizmos. We're going to put that at the bottom here. So void OnDraw gizmos. What do we want to do? Basically, we need to iterate through our list and connect them. All right, so here we're going to say for each element in our array. So here, if what's it called? If our list is empty, okay? So if waypoints dot is empty would be nice if there was like something like that, but we can just do if is count is greater than 1 or greater than 0. So you have at least one waypoint, then we want to do this, okay? So if waypoint.count is greater than 1, so that we have at least 2, right? So if it's greater than 1, we're going to go ahead and do this for each loop. And what we need to do here is we need to basically attach them to each other. So we're going to iterate through the waypoints and we're going to connect them to the previous waypoint. So we actually can't do a for each loop because I need to be able to access the previous one. So to do this, we're going to use a for loop, and we might be using 2 for loops. Let's see here. We're going to say for int I equals 0, well, I is less than waypoints.count. All right, well, it's less than waypoints.count. What do we want to do? So here for int I equals 0, well, I is less than waypoints.count. And actually, I don't know if that's, well, I don't recall if this actually executes in edit mode. So let's just see here. Pickable and always drawn. This allows you to quickly pick important objects in your scene. That the object will use a mouse position that is relative to the scene view. It's collapsed in the inspector. Okay, so if you're on the component, then it gets crawled. Okay, you can draw. Okay, when the gizmo is selected. So we'll go ahead and test this out and see which one we need to work with. So what we need to do here is we need to say for int I equals 0, while I less than current waypoints.count. And hey, what's up, Jackson? Thanks for subscribing. What we're going to do here is we're going to say, we need to get our current waypoint, okay? So we're going to say waypoint 0, so or whatever the current waypoint is. So here, let's see here. We're going to increment 2. So while we're going to iterate through, we need to attach these guys. So we are going to basically say, trying to think actually, what are the options here? Gizmo.drawLine draws a line starting at from towards a 2. Okay, so we can do that, I believe. And actually, real quickly, let's go ahead and research that. Let's see here. Draw line of objects using Gizmo. So here it's just going to draw a line from that to target position, but we want to make sure that it's going to draw multiple lines, like connecting lines, you know what I mean? So we want to make sure that's going to do that. I don't know if it actually will, so hold on. Draw a line between 3 objects on draw gizmo. let's see here. So this is not what we want. This is just drawing cubes and stuff. Draw a line to a specific angle. How to draw gizmos only when an object is not selected. Let me see here. How to correctly draw a line. Let's see here. Draw a line between points, unity, gizmo. Let's just see what they're doing. Okay, so check this out. He's using it for on each one. So this guy's trying to do something similar to us, it looks like. Before that, I'm not sure how to draw all between all the waypoints. Instead, maybe draw a waypoint. Sounds like you already have a theory about how to do this, drawing small spheres at evenly spaced positions between each pair of waypoints. Have you tried putting this in theory and practice? Yada, yada. How do I draw if I'm doing this example? And then gizmo to draw sphere. I'm not worried about drawing sphere. I'm worried about drawing multiple lines, though. Oh, you know what? Unless this is an individual draw line call, then this will work. So here's what we need to do. We're going to iterate through all of them, and then we need to basically say we're going to connect points 0 and 1, 1 and 2, and so forth. So we need to save like the previous, right? So here we're going to say we have current and previous. So int previous, or we're going to say position previous, because I think it needs that. So here we have a vector 3 previous, and that's going to equal the current one. All right, so the previous is going to be, or let's actually just do current and next. So vector 3 current equals underscore waypoints. We're going to get sub I dot transform dot position. So imagine this was going on the first time around. This is 0. And then here we have vector 3 dot, or vector 3 next. And that's going to equal underscore waypoints I dot transform dot position. And instead of I, we're going to do I plus 1, right? So it's going to grab the next one. Now what's going to happen though is we only want, what's going to happen eventually is this will become null if we're at the end, right? Because the end is going to try and grab current and so forth. So what we want to do, well, we'll get to that when we do, but we may run into some issues. Let's see though. So here we have current and next, and I just want to draw a line between them. So we're going to say gizmo dot draw line, and let's draw a line between current and next. And we'll figure out any problems we have once we do. All right, so here we are. So moving platform is selected. I don't know if on gizmos is drawing or not, but let's see. So here's our platform. We have one waypoint here. I'm going to remove that guy. All right, so here we go. So we have a waypoint here. We have 2 waypoints. So if I take waypoint 1, it should draw a line. And it is. Check that out. So it's drawing a line to those waypoints. So let's see what happens here if we add more waypoints. So if I add 3 waypoints, what happens? Here's waypoint 2. And perfect. That's exactly what we want. It's automatically going from the previous to the next. So if Al wanted to create some weird funky thing, he definitely could. So let's go ahead and delete these waypoints. And let's create 3 new ones. So here's a waypoint. Let's create 4. So waypoint 0 is there. So let's go ahead and say we're going to have it come from here. And then it's going to extend upwards, followed by extending downwards if we wanted it to. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that for you guys actually. Let me redo that. Let's have it make sense. So 1 is here, 2 is going to be down here, 3 is going to be down here, and then 4 is going to be here. So I might actually be able to do that. We might be able to block this off from running, but we'll see. It's actually not giving us any, oh, it is giving us an error. So we are getting that argument out of range, which I knew we'd get. And that's because waypoint 4 has no next. So what we can do here is we just need to check and see if if this is the last one. And the easiest way to do that, honestly, is just like this. We can say, to save the last line, I shouldn't have to do that. I can actually probably just add a check here that's checking to see if I can just check here and see if Druck just subscribed. Thanks, dude. If I equals, let's go ahead and say, so next equals I equals, what is it? We're going to say I equals underscore waypoints.count. So if it equals waypoints.count, then what does that mean? That means we're at the end, right? So if we're at the end, then what needs to happen? Then I want to set this just to, I want it to be itself. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, let's say waypoints dot, let's just grab the current one. Let me see here. So if we're on the last one, we need to grab the previous one so that doesn't move. So waypoints, we're going to say I, grab the current I minus minus, subtract 1. So I minus 1 you can do too. All right, that's going to grab that guy dot transform dot, what's it called? I transform dot position. And actually it should just be dot position. Yeah. Same for this guy. I shouldn't need to type that. Yeah. All right, so, and then here, what's the else, right? So the else is really simple. The else would just be waypoints I plus 1, or it would just be I. Dot position. All right, so what this is checking here is we have our current waypoint. If next, so next is going to equal, if I equals the end, we're going to do -1 so that it's itself. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and grab the current waypoint. If we save this, everything should be okay. One thing I do want to do is let's add like maybe some spheres to the center, just so it's more visually appealing to look at. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our moving platform here. Here's our waypoints. Let's remove them all. We'll add 4 waypoints. So on 0, we're right there. 1 is going to come to here. And I actually don't see our gizmo anymore. What happened? Why? Did that break that? Because I don't see, yeah, I don't see our gizmo happening anymore. So that could have, definitely could have affected that. Let's see here. Let me undo this real quickly. Whoops. Okay, so hold on. Why would that have worked? Let's see. I just don't want it to, I want it to be itself. Hang on, let's try that again. Because we do have to handle that ending condition, right? Because it doesn't have anything to connect to. So we just want it to be a line of its own. So here we have the waypoints. Oh, you know what? Interesting. Yeah, okay, here we have the waypoints right here. So how else can we do it to where this waypoint 3 is just going to be itself? Let's see here. Current equals waypoints I, and then next equals waypoints I plus 1. So here, let's do this. Actually, waypoints equals I plus 1. It only should do that if I does not equal the count, right? So let's do this. Check the, we're going to put a ternary operator in here. It's either going to be +1 or -1. This might work better. So waypoints I, we're going to go ahead and say I equals underscore waypoints dot count. If that's the case, then it's going to be I -1. And this should be kind of like what I just did, but we'll see. Or I plus 1. So waypoints I equals waypoints.count. If we're at the last one, it's going to be I minus I, or 1 plus 1. Let's see what kind of errors it's going to throw. Okay, there we go. That seemed to fix it. So we'll go ahead and remove these, although it's giving me an argument out of range exception every time I click one. So that did not fix it, although it should have. But let's go ahead and remove those. We'll add 3 more. And here's our line. Here's our line. And our second waypoint has a line. But it is still giving us that index null or out of range, which is very annoying. And actually, you know what? Maybe this is the fix. We only want to actually do the next. We only want to do next if... here, maybe we won't even execute at next. Let's try this. If I equals... Let's see here. Let's try this. So here, if I is equal to waypoints.count, then what do we want to do? So right here, what would it be? So waypoints is 3. So 0, 1, 2. So it's going to be 3, the count. So it's going to run 0, 1, 2. And then when it gets here, that's the problem right there, basically. So actually, let's run this waypoints.count, although it's only running however many times it is. So this here, if I equals waypoints.count, which it never will. So if I equals waypoints.count minus 1, then we're going to go ahead and say next equals current. So here, we're going to say next. I didn't mean to delete that. Copy that, put it here. We're going to go ahead and say next equals current. That way it's basically going to draw a line to itself, right? Soon. So let me save that and test it out. And finally wrap this up. Come on. Why? All right, hold on. Let's go ahead and remove them from the platform. Add waypoints. Yeah, it's still trying to add a line to that last one, which is really throwing it off, which makes no sense. Come on. Let's see here. Current equals waypoints I. Here, let's do this. Debug.log. Let me see what I is currently, so we can try and step through this. I'm reading it. Here. Let's go away. Let's see. So, all right, here we go. So we have 3210. Remove waypoint. All right, so we're going to add some waypoints. Okay, so this could be helpful. Let's see here. So let's re-add those and see what those, what it's looping through, right? So here we have 1 waypoint, we have 2. So here it says I is 0 and I is 1, right? Our waypoints list is 2, so it does get to the count. But what it's trying to do here is I, on the last one, once again, it's trying to add it. So if I is 1, it's still trying to add next equals this, and that's because, oh, right, okay, well, that's probably because of this. Whatever logic I have going on there, so we actually don't want that. Well, hold on. If I equals waypoints.count minus 1, then next equals current. So really this logic is just broken here. Let's go ahead and add... Current is the current point, and then here the logic really should be if I equals _waypoints.count minus 1, we're on the last one, So we're going to go ahead and say, next is going to equal current, else next equals whatever it should be. Let's try that. So here for next, we're going to go ahead and say, let's just do vector3 next equals null, and we're going to assign it. All right, so we get the current waypoint that we're on. And then next is just going to be vector3.0, which is like that. So next is either going to equal current, or next is going to equal this, +1. And that should fix it. Hopefully. Next equals waypoints I +1. That means we do have a +1. All right, so, and then here, we do want to draw a gizmo for each one. So we'll save this. All right, let's go ahead and remove the counts currently. Alrighty, add a waypoint. So we're going to add a waypoint. We're adding 3. We're going to select this one. Whoops, that was 0. Put that back. We're going to grab 1, 2, and no more errors. Finally. Or is there? Hold on. No, doesn't look like it. Good. So if I add another waypoint here, I can add a waypoint. Here's waypoint 3. And it stops there. No errors. That's exactly how we wanted this. So what we can do now is we can even clean it up a bit. We can give it a color. So let's go ahead and draw a line with those targets. And we should be able to give it a color here. Gizmos.color equals color dot like yellow. See how that looks. And we can remove these logs as well inside here. We no longer need that, but it did help us debug it. All right, and there we go. So here we can actually see it in the inspector and move along those points. Oh, it's compiling. And there we go. Okay, so in the inspector you can do that. What I would like to do though is when we add a point, let's go ahead and space it out so it automatically draws this line for him. No, definitely getting there, but we're good. Definitely want to finish this out. So we do have our lines here. The last piece of polish really for this, guys, is to space it out, and then we have to get that bool thing working. So we have right here what I would like to do, and I think we can actually do, we can draw lines, but we can also do a gizmos.draw a sphere. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a sphere. And I'm going to draw a sphere at the center with a radius. So where's the center position for each of these guys? It's going to be at current position is where we want to do this. I believe, yeah. We'll see how this works. But then here for the radius, let's do like a 0.5f. And let's see how that looks. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's go ahead here, check this out. So here's our moving platform. We're going to add some waypoints. All right, and now we have these big spheres you can see here. And if I move them out, each one should have its own sphere now. And they do. Sweet. So that's going to just give Al a little bit more visualization. One thing I do want to do here is on this draw sphere. Let's go and see here. I believe I can change the color per thing. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll go ahead and just set this down to like 0.15f. So it's a little smaller. But this really allows us to customize it for him. All right, so here we go. We have 3 waypoints. All right, and there we go. So he can move these around and connect however he wants the platform to be. And what we even could do too is we can make sure that their Y values or their X values align. And that will be definitely for another video. But I am happy with this. He has a visual display of what it should do. And then what we can do now is automatically space it out for him. So to do that, what we're going to do is when we add a waypoint, when we add that object here, what we're going to do is space it out. So before we actually add it, let's space it out. So to do that, we set it to 0 there. And then here we're going to say go.transform. Whoops. We're going to say local position equals vector3.0. This is actually going to be new vector3. And it's going to be local position, whatever the current, so here, actually let's do this. We are going to set to vector3.0 for the initial one. And then what I want to start doing here is on the X is where we're actually going to move it. So we're going to say, after we set it up to 0, we'll go ahead and say, trying to think what we need to do to multiply this, because we definitely, trying to think the best way to do this. Waypoints.count, we could, let's see here. So we know the name of it, like waypoints.count. We know which one this is, so we can get like we can use like a scalar value here. We position it to 0, and then let's go ahead and space it out. So instead of 0, we're going to say new vector3. So new vector3, we're going to space it out on the X. All right, so whatever the X is, and then 0 for Y and 0 for Z. So when we do that, what needs to happen here? We need to increment that value by some sort of scalar value. So the best way to do that is to say waypoints.count. So it's either going to be 0 or 1. And what we can do here is say waypoints.count times, for instance, let's do 1. All right, so that's going to move it 1 unit. So we'll have to do something for the 0 case though, but let's see. So let's go ahead and remove these platform pieces. All right, add a waypoint, add 1, add 2, add 3, add 4, and you can see here that it's extending outwards. Every platform is being created. I can then move individual pieces to create a path. So here we go. So if I actually run this, now I'm worried that the first one is also positioned, but maybe not. Let's see. Okay, no, and that worked perfect. Perfectly. And there we go. So Al has this visual reference that we'll need, and you can just simply add them. It automatically adds a waypoint and just positions them out. So it makes it very easy. So that worked extremely well. So here, again, I'm going to add the first one. And the position is 0 because it's 0. So it's 0 times 0. Or 0 times 1, which is 0. And then when I add another one, it becomes 1 times 1, which is 1. 2 times 1, which is 2. 3 times 1, which is 3. And that's how it gets spaced. So now we have an infinite block, and we can remove them as well. So last thing to do, guys, is to just allow Al to reverse it when he wants to using this inspector here. Now, it was being such a pain in the ass before, so let's see if we can quickly fix that. And the way we do that is I would need to basically get this reversing thing here. Basically, I just want to show that field. So here we have a property for it. Or I'd like to use a toggle, right? So here, let me see here. Let's see here. Use bool. You could have a waypoint spacing property in the inspector for auto tweak. Oh yeah, good point. I could create something like that waypoint spacing thing. Yeah, make it a variable. To add custom spacing, yeah, we definitely could do that. Let's see here. What do we have? We have platform speed. We could add a spacing, although I imagine. Actually, you know what? Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. Let's go ahead and do that. So what would our spacing be? So our spacing here would be multiplied, would be a multiplied value, right? So inside here we'd have spacing. So here we would have private float spacing equals, we'll say just 1.0 by default. We need serialize field and hide inspector because we're going to use our custom inspector. Fix that one. All right, so here's our spacing. We need a property that's going to return spacing and set it. So inside here, we're going to copy our waypoint one. It's an int. And let's see here, actually. We're going to copy our platform speed one. It's most similar. Put that down here at the bottom. All right, and let's go ahead and we're going to call this spacing. We're going to return spacing. And then we're also going to get spacing, or we're going to set spacing. Why do you put an underscore before certain variables? The reason why I do that is because when you're getting into lines of code that are hundreds of, when you get into scripts that are 100 lines long or even up to 1,000, being able to know what's private and what's not private can become very important. So it allows me to easily look at a variable and know that it's private. All right, so in here what I can do is I can just take this guy and change it up. So we have waypoints.count platform speed, and we'll go ahead and add some spacing here. So this is going to be mp.spacing and mp.spacing here. And then this is going to be platform spacing. All right, so let's go ahead and check that out. And we'll test it out. And then what we're going to want to do here is when we add a platform, or when we add a when we add a waypoint, we need to now come into here when we add them and waypoints.count times spacing. All right, so let's go ahead and test it out. All right, so here we have platform spacing is set to 1. So if I add a waypoint, let's test it out. All right, so right now it's 1. And then he could even make it dynamic. So right now even I could say 5 and then add a waypoint and check that out. It's 5 units across. So here, let's set it back to 1 and we can add some more. So let's go and remove these guys and redo that. All right, so here's our 1s. Oh, and you know what? It's getting times that. So we actually don't want that. What we need to do is it needs to be waypoints.count times spacing. It's not. We want to make sure that it's actually 1. So we want to basically grab waypoints.count times this. It needs to be times the negative waypoints.count so that it's 1. I want it to be 1. So how do I actually do that? I need to convert it to 1. What's the math for that? If that's going to be 2 times spacing, which is going to be 2, it would be 3. Let's see, waypoints.count would be 3 times 1. 4 times 1. We would have to do a conversion to get that. Ooh, you know what? That's actually really interesting. Hold on. Oh, here, you know what, actually? You would just do, you might actually just be able to do spacing. But we need to continuously add the spacing is the problem. So we do need to have something in here. Because otherwise what's going to happen here is this is going to be 5 times spacing of 5, which would be 25. But then we can just divide by, I think you can divide by spacing at that point. So let's try this. So we'll do that calculation divided by underscore spacing. All right, so if that's going to be, and let's just draw out the math, right? You have here, so say we're on number 4. So it's going to be 4 times, say your spacing is 1, right? So 4 times 1 is 4, divided by 4 is what? It's going to be 1, right? Or I'm sorry, divided by 1 should be 4. So that should give you the proper spacing for that. So here waypoints.count is say 5 with our spacing as 5. Then what's going to happen? So it's going to be 25, and then we divide by 5, and that's going to give us 5. So it should be okay. I normally put an underscore before the name of the parameters in my methods to differentiate them from variables. Oh, I wouldn't say it's bad practice, but definitely not. I mean, in terms of C# and professional settings, I've never seen it like that. That's more so I've seen it in JavaScript where you kind of can do stuff like that. But in okay, I'm sorry, I'm reading it now. The way you're doing your parentheses, that's fine. I've seen that before. Yeah, I have people who I know people who do exactly that, the way you're writing your methods. It's just a preference. I've seen it in the professional setting. All right, let's go and test this out, guys. Let's see if that works. So here's our spacing. What we can do now is go over here. So here's our platform spacing. We'll test it out with 1 first. Again, 1 should still work just fine. Oh, whoops. Let's go ahead and remove these guys. All right, we're going to add 2 waypoints. All right, spacing is fine. Let's go ahead and get rid of them. Spacing is going to get set to 2. We add the first one, add the second one. There we go. Let's go ahead and make it 5. Add a waypoint. Okay, and actually it's not doing what it should. These guys are actually just 5. It's not multiplying it. Why is that? It's giving us that value, that individual value of how many waypoints, is that right? So essentially I should then be able to do, after you divide it, like re-multiply it. Is that right? I may have to open up a notepad and write out the math. But let me try something. Yeah, that was 5 and 5, so I actually don't want that. I do want that 1 value, but now I want to multiply it by the... So when should you make variables public? You should make variables public whenever you want to access them from like another script. If they should be changed from another script, they should be public. Otherwise, for the most part, almost everything should really be private. And if you want to be able to have something read-only, just use a property, like an auto property. Okay, let's try this one out. Let's remove these points. So add a waypoint. There we go. Check that out. It's working. 5, and then here, let's go ahead and remove these. So I'm going to add 1 at 1, add a waypoint, and then let's go ahead and make it like 5 for the next one. Check that out. And then we can make it like 2. And there we go. And then, oh, it's like overlapping itself. That's pretty funny. Because of that, it's buggy. So basically, I wouldn't be able to customize it like that. But we can do platform spacing to have it like 3 by 3. Or however many he needs. So that would be good. If we look at this, that was a 3 by 3. So this is 3, 6, 9, and 12, which is great. One thing we could actually do to modify that is we can grab the current previous one and then modify it by however much the last one, you know, what it is. So technically we could do, and maybe that's actually how we should do it. That way Al could add 2 spaced by 2 and then add a long one. He could adjust the spacing if he wanted to. So let's save this and let's redo it. Let's do this instead. Basically, we're going to, actually that's going to require a bit more modification. It needs to spawn at the previous X, basically. At the previous X plus the spacing. So let's try it. Let's see here. We can do go.transform.localPosition equals, let's say new vector 3. Yeah, new vector 3, and then the previous position X. So to get that, we need to say waypoints.count, which is going to, and then minus minus. So waypoints.count minus 1, that's going to give us their x basically. So here I want to get that x value. So I'm going to say waypoints, and then we're going to say waypoints.count minus 1. That's going to get the previous one. And then what do we want to do once we have the previous one? We want to modify it. So we're going to say 0 for there, 0 for there. All right, so we get that position, and then we want to add our spacing. That way we're adding the spacing onto it. So here, count dot position dot x plus our spacing. So let's see how that works. To exit from an editor, you can use serialize field to make it accessible. Right. Usually you should use private variables and then serialize them so that you can change them in the inspector if you need to. All right, so check this out. Here's our moving platforms. Let's go ahead and remove these. I'm going to set the spacing to 1 for a second. So let's add multiples. And right now they're just being called waypoint 0 for some reason. Waypoints. Okay, so we definitely broke that. They're all being called waypoints.count for some reason, or what's happening there. Yeah, we definitely broke something on there. Not 100% sure what. Hang on. Let's delete those. Here's our platform. Let's add a waypoint. Yeah, that's like not working. Oh, argument out of range. Oh, okay, hold on. So the reason why that happened is, although no, that should have actually worked. Waypoints.count. It was 0 at first, and then it became, oh, because we haven't added it yet. That's why. All right, it's erroring on the first one. So we do need a case for that first one. So check this out. We might be able to do this. Maybe. Let's see. Here we can basically check to see if waypoints.count equals 0. Then this is the first one. Okay, so if it's the first one, we're going to do this. And then else we're going to do this. And save that. Let's test that out. Alrighty, so here we have platform speed, platform spacing. So let's add a waypoint. Okay, there we go. All right, so they're going in reverse though. Not really sure why, but let's go through it and read it. We have a couple of zeros here, which is an issue. And these got added by like 1.4. Like they're getting some weird values, right? I don't know where they're getting those values from. 3.52, 3. Yeah, they're like not full length values. That's really odd. Hold on, let's remove those. What happened? Let's say it's grabbing the previous and we're adding the spacing. So 0 plus the spacing should have just been 1. So I don't know why that wouldn't work, but I'm also not super concerned about it. It's not a feature Al requested. He can move it himself. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Let's remove this one and put that back because this works really well. All right, and that should allow us to create all the waypoints we need and control the spacing. So here we can space them out. There we go. Oops, don't need to run it. Let's delete these guys. All right, and we'll add some waypoints. So we have 4 waypoints added, 5, 6, 7, and so forth. Sweet. From there, we can also do, our spacing still works. So we can do 3.5 spacing. There we go. Cool. And once again, we can adjust these, and let's make sure our speed works. So here on our platform, let's adjust the speed. We'll set that platform speed to 3. Test it out. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I removed them. That's because I accidentally deleted some without removing the script. Alrighty. So everything looks really good here. Al has a completely custom waypoint system that he can use. We pretty much got through everything except being able to reverse it for debug properties. But, and I would like to, I just don't know how. So I'm going to leave that for tomorrow. If I start live streaming again tomorrow, probably. And we'll figure out how to, change those values, unless I can actually find something in this next Google post here. We want to look for, what is it? Let's see, change bool value, custom inspector. Serialize property.bool value. Interesting. Let's see. Did you find this page useful? No. Serialize property.bool value. Let's see here. So here they're doing scriptable objects. Serialize property. Okay, so my object, that's that equals scriptable object.create instance. We create an instance of that. And then here, serialize property. They get that property field. And then bool value of a Boolean property. So let's see here. Serialize, here, let's use that last one and try and do this. Oh yeah, you know what? Al did want delays. So let's actually do that. He did want a delay system. And maybe, you know what, we'll save that actually for probably part 2 tomorrow. We'll finish this up and polish it up because we're like 3 hours or something like that here. So tomorrow we'll go ahead and stream finishing this, and we'll add some more polish. We'll add things like adding a delay system to it, as well as adding that bool property, and we'll probably optimize this a bit more as well. So thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, definitely check out the social channels to know when we do live streams. If you're in the course, we're going to start getting on a schedule. Al is going to be doing the art pipeline. More extended content is coming out soon for the ultimate guide to 2D mobile game development. So again, I'll go ahead and show you guys the game. If you're interested in learning how to make a game like this, definitely check out the ultimate guide to 2D game development with Unity. Cool. All right, guys, so game's coming along well. Last thing to do is to commit this to Al so we can check it out and also provide some feedback. Added, we're going to go ahead and say added platform editor tool. So thank you guys, and I will catch you guys later. So I will be here, I'll hang around a little bit here in the chat if you guys have any questions, but if you want to join me in Discord, hop into one of our courses and you'll gain access to that community. So I'll see you guys later. Hi, my name is Jonathan Weinberg, and I've been developing games with C# and Unity for the last 6 years. I've helped thousands of developers learn to code and improve their skill sets. I currently teach game development on Udemy, an online marketplace for courses. Udemy has over 17 million students learning everything from game development to piano or cooking. Enjoy courses on any device and at your own pace with lifetime access. My course, The Ultimate Guide to Game Development with Unity, is designed to teach you the fundamentals of C# programming in Unity. We'll cover everything from receiving user inputs to creating destructible objects. By the end of this course, you'll make 2 high-quality games you can share with the world. This course is for anyone who wants to learn game development or refine their technique. Whether you're interested in game development as a hobby or you want to make games professionally, this course will grow your programming skill set and help you go on to make your own games and applications. Click on the link in the bottom left of the video player to access a special discount for this course. I look forward to teaching you more about game development with Unity and C# on Udemy.